Yun Qi fights through a mountain of corpses, protecting a girl he despises. But the Soul Sect's vengeance is just beginning, and Lei Qianfeng has called in a debt from the divine martial realm. Leave a like and subscribe to walk this bloody path. Mountain range below, the path formed by blood grew longer and longer across the mountain. Trapped in a desperate situation, Yun Qi had no idea how much time had passed or how many people he had killed. He didn't even know whether his current injuries were light or severe. His whole mind was focused on quickly making his way out of the encirclement and protecting the girl in his arm, whom he hated extremely. He didn't need to determine his targets as he brandished the sword in his right hand. Every time he swung it downward, it would result in his enemies dyeing the night sky with their blood. It was at this time that two auras, which abruptly increased the pressure on his body, approached him from the side at an extremely fast speed. "Ling Yun, get ready to die?" Two black soul spears with ferocious lightning entwined around them easily tore open the power of Yun Qi's heavy sword. Like two soul-chasing black snakes, they pounced over to Yun Qi from both sides. They were two great vice hall masters of the Soul Sect, with profound strength at the middle stage of the divine tribulation realm. Their profound auras were not inferior to Lei Qianfeng's at all. Yun Qi turned around with lightning speed. He activated the rumbling heaven state, causing his profound aura to explosively increase and faced their attacks with his sword. Die! Seeing Yun Qi turn around to actually confront their attacks head-on, the gazes of the two vice hall masters instantly became several times more ruthless. As if the lightning entwined around their black soul spears had come alive all of a sudden, it leapt high into the air, unbridled. Crack, they ripped apart space like a thunderbolt suddenly crashing down from the sky. But when the lightning exploded, the only things there were the fragments of a false image. In an instant, moon-splitting cascade temporarily retained his figure and aura at his previous location, causing the attacks of the two vice hall masters to fail in hitting his real body at the same time. While they were caught unprepared for a moment, Yun Qi's heavy sword ruthlessly smashed down. Boom! The sound of a thunderclap resounded throughout the place as the two great vice hall masters fell headfirst from the sky. But almost at the same time, two more powerful energies arrived at the place while making a loud sound in their wake, dressed in clothes that were different from the ordinary disciples. The incoming duo were actually vice hall masters of the sect as well. Yun Qi spun around to accumulate enough force before he unleashed the boundless power of his sword. Clang! When the heaven-smiting sword collided with the two black soul spears, it produced a loud metallic sound like the firmament being split apart. Although Yun Qi was in his most powerful state, it was definitely impossible for him to have a head-on clash with two vice hall masters of the Soul Sect, even if he was using the sword with both hands. So naturally, it was all the more impossible for him to have a decent fight with them, when the force and might of the sword had greatly lessened, due to him using only one hand. The heaven-smiting sword was shaken away as Yun Qi's arms ruptured. Like a meteor falling down from the sky, his body was firmly smashed onto the pitch-black Black Soul Mountain range. Bang! The ground split apart, and several mountains in the vicinity shook intensely. As Yun Qi's body fell heavily on the ground, all the disciples of the Soul Sect around immediately locked their auras in his direction. Within a moment, several thousand profound auras erupted simultaneously as they all came charging at him. There was a dozens of meters deep pit smashed into the ground. Blood was oozing out of the corner of Yun Qi's mouth, but he had an incomparably cold and sober look in his eyes, and immediately perceived several thousand auras approaching him. If he were to be showered upon by such a fearsome concentrated attack, he would die for sure even if he had 10 lives to spare. Empyrean dance of the Phoenix Wing? He didn't have the time to see whether little Jasmine was hurt or not. Flames ignited on his body, as a loud and clear phoenix cry resonated across the sky above the Black Soul Mountain range. In the midst of the phoenix cry, a streak of fire light soared into the sky, reaching as high as several thousand kilometers in an instant. All the disciples of the Soul Sect that were close to it were blown away by the enormous might and the unparalleled terrifying force of the flame storm produced by it on the way. Boom! Boom! Under the effects of the energies of several thousand disciples, Yun Qi's previous location had turned into a purgatory of destruction in a split second. What? The absolutely domineering coercion of the Phoenix frightened the few Vice Hall masters so badly that they retreated in a flurry. As for Yun Qi, He had fled far away with no intention to stay at the place any longer, while leaving a trail of light behind him. "Quickly chase him," a Vice Hall Master roared. "Rest at ease, he won't be able to run away," another Vice Hall Master said without any worry. "Brother-in-law, your blood is flowing out." Little Jasmine stretched out her hand to poke Xianxia's chest. Several streaks of blood were flowing down from there. In the beginning, there were only a few of them, but then their number increased by more than 10, as more and more streaks of blood surfaced on his chest. However, since her body was protected by his body and profound strength, little Jasmine didn't have the slightest injury on her. "Isn't it all because of you?" Xianxia gritted his teeth. "If I die here today, I'll have you accompany me in bed as my servant girl in your next life to repay the debt." "Ah, how many times do you want me to repeat myself? I'm your sister-in-law. As my brother-in-law, it's only natural for you to save me. It's something you should definitely do." A mouthful of blood gushed into Xianxia's mouth. It was hard to tell whether it happened due to blood clotting in his internal organs or because of being angered by little Jasmine. She was still in the mood to contradict him in such a situation. Even if it was moronic and masochistic to help you out, you should at least feel somewhat grateful in your heart, damn it. The number of the disciples surging from all directions grew higher and higher. No matter which direction, the entire sky was tightly packed with black figures. Even if the land below was littered with corpses, the huge net of disciples surrounding him became increasingly denser. Consequently, Xianxia didn't get the opportunity to catch his breath even for a second. It was at this time that Xianxia's brows rose all of a sudden. He sensed 4 auras behind which were drawing nearer at a speed that was far greater than his own. As they got closer and closer, the 4 incomparably heavy auras firmly locked onto him. 7th Hall Master, 11th Hall Master, 34th Hall Master, 35th Hall Master, 4 Hall Masters. The excited shouts of the Soul Sect disciples could be heard from the surrounding area. The few Vice Hall Masters on Xianxia's tail also slowed down at the same time. Now that 4 Hall Masters of the Black Soul Divine Sect were closing on him, there was no way out left for Xianxia any longer. "Ling Yun, you'd better surrender yourself to us." Loud roars resounded, containing the terrifying coercion of the 4. The blood in Xianxia's whole body was shaken intensely by them. "Don't hold back. Sect Master has said that we don't need him alive. Just kill him on the spot. He killed so many disciples of my hall. I hate him so much that I even dream of killing him with my own hands. Let's attack together." The 4 Hall Masters of the Soul Sect were at the late stage of the Divine Tribulation realm, who had transcendent standing in the Darkia realm, made their move at the same time. The enormous energies of the 4 gathered into a sky-blotting storm which blew straight ahead toward Xianxia. Xianxia wasn't able to rival any one of the 4, so them combining their power undoubtedly produced such vast energy that it would be like an abysmal nightmare to Xianxia. Before the combined energy could get closer to him, its enormous pressure and the blast generated as it drew nearer made Xianxia totter uncontrollably in the sky. Xianxia didn't turn around and firmly gritted his teeth. He put the heaven-smiting sword away while tightly holding the girl in his arms and activated rumbling heaven. Then he also put up the evil god barrier to its greatest extent, sealing cloud-locking sun. Boo. Like huge waves of an ocean hitting a small boat away. The evil god barrier completely shattered into pieces the moment after it was formed. Xianxia's entire body shook intensely, and he fell down heavily onto the ground once again. But his condition during the fall this time was several times more grievous than before. As he fell from the sky, a very long trail of blood mist appeared in his wake, which didn't show any signs of dispersing for quite a long period of time. Xianxia's body firmly smashed onto the summit of a mountain peak, causing the mountain to break down from the middle as broken stones filled the whole sky. However, the force of his fall didn't lessen in the least, and he continued to roll several thousand meters away. Amidst the sounds of the ground splitting apart, his body dug out 1,000-meter or so long gully before finally coming to a halt. After a momentary silence, the disciples in the surrounding area immediately let out cheers at the same time. High above in the sky, the Hall Master on the right said with a sneer, "That was a tad too easy a death for someone like you who not only killed so many disciples of my Soul Sect, but also made the whole sect suffer such disgrace and humiliation. At least now we can report a satisfactory result to Sect Master. Otherwise, no one knows what he would do if his anger doesn't disappear." "Wait a minute," the Hall Master in the middle said with an abrupt change in his expression. "I can still sense his aura. He hasn't died yet." Only when the spirit senses of the four great hall masters swept over the location of Yun Qi did they suddenly realize that Yun Qi's aura was actually still present there. Although it was a lot weaker than before, it could still be considered strong. It was absolutely different from the aura of a person who was dead or on the brink of death. How is this possible? The four great hall masters blurted out in fright simultaneously. It was already somewhat inconceivable for his body to not have been annihilated after being hit by the combined power of four people at the late stage of the divine tribulation realm. So how was it possible for him to be still alive? The thing that frightened them even more was that the figure died completely in blood at the end of the gully was actually slowly standing up on its feet. The four great hall masters gazed at each other. At this moment, not only did they see shock in the eyes of others, there was also fear within them. Just what sort of a monster was he? The aura of his profound strength was obviously only at the second level of the divine soul realm, so how could he be so fearsome? They were unable to understand the reason behind it, even with the experience and knowledge of all their lives. He's severely injured at the moment. We should finish him off without any delay. No matter what, we can't let him stay alive. Repeating the three words, no matter what, twice, clearly manifested the fear in their hearts. The four great hall masters flew down at the same time. Even though Yun Qi was seriously injured right now and couldn't be much of a threat, the killing auras of the four hall masters had in fact grown far stronger than earlier. "Brother-in-law, they're coming again. Quickly run away." Little Jasmine shouted beside Yun Qi's ear. He had injuries all over his body, and it also felt extremely heavy to him. On the other hand, little Jasmine still seemed safe and sound. Yun Qi didn't need her to warn him. He already had clearly sensed the four enormous oppressive auras approaching him once again. Yun Qi stood straight, but didn't attempt to flee from them with all his might any longer. Blood was unceasingly trickling from the corner of his mouth as he stood in place. There was no look of pain on his face, only the ferociousness of an evil spirit. He had faced a whole sect by himself more than once in the past. At the age of 19, he had confronted one of the four great sects in Blue Wind Nation, the Burning Heaven clan. With his own power, he had then exterminated the clan. Although he did experience some difficulty, there was no doubt that he did have the power to face a sect on his own. Later, he again confronted the Divine Phoenix sect by himself. He already had extreme mirage lightning and the primordial profound arc at the time. Even though it wasn't possible for him to have a direct clash with the Divine Phoenix sect, his speed was faster than anyone in the sect, and he was strong enough to be confident that he absolutely wouldn't get into danger. Eventually, though, he relied on his power to force the Divine Phoenix sect into a hopeless situation. But this time it was completely different from the previous two. Against the Burning Heaven clan, he had the strength to exterminate it. Against the Divine Phoenix sect, he had the ability to escape unscathed. But in face of the Black Soul Divine sect, a ruling sect of a star realm in the God realm, his existence was quite insignificant. It was absolutely impossible for him to face the sect head-on or to escape unscathed in any situation. Therefore, the only thing he could do was to carry out assassinations secretly, with the help of moon-splitting cascade. This time he took the initiative to reveal himself and had to bear the consequences as a result, which wasn't unexpected at all. Seeing that Yun Qi wasn't fleeing and instead standing still after getting up, the four great hall masters thought that he had resigned himself to his fate and had prepared to surrender to them. But despite that, the four of them didn't curb their profound auras in the slightest. They wanted to take his life with all their force, aiming to directly annihilate his body into ashes if possible. "Ling Yun, die." However, Yun Qi suddenly turned around at this time. A huge image of a dark blue dragon emerged above his head, after which it burst apart in the air as a dragon roar resounded throughout the sky. It was the first time Yun Qi had extended the range of the dragon soul domain so far in his life. The surrounding area within 50 kilometers was caged in the sky-shaking roar of the dragon. The chaotic Black Soul Mountain range suddenly became incomparably silent, and the disciples of the Soul Sect revealed deep fear. The ones in the sky lost the color in their eyes, and then they fell down onto the ground, one by one. The four great hall masters who were approaching Yun Qi felt their entire bodies stiffen in place. Their pupils lost focus as an expression of intense fear surfaced on their faces too. It was at this time that Yun Qi's body finally jumped high into the sky. While speedily escaping from the place, scarlet gold flames gathered on him at a terrifyingly fast rate and burned all over his body. It expanded in the twinkling of an eye, and as if a golden sun had appeared in the night sky, emitted blazing light which one couldn't look directly at. Yellow springs, ashes. The golden sun mercilessly exploded, causing all the disciples of the Soul Sect, who had just gotten themselves free from the dragon soul domain, to be swept into the Golden Crow purgatory. The whole surrounding area within 150 kilometers had thoroughly transformed into a golden sea of flames in the short time of just over 10 breaths, seemingly submerged into the purgatory of the yellow springs all of a sudden. Burning across the entire place, however, were the most terrifying and cruel Golden Crow's divine flames. Again, countless miserable shrieks reverberated throughout the Black Soul Mountain that had turned into a sea of fire. There was no telling the number of Soul Sect disciples that were engulfed in the sea of fire, as they burned to ash before being able to escape. The only thing that the others could see was the golden flames and the pitiful living creatures wailing and struggling in the midst of the flames. Engulfed by the fearsome and raging golden flames, even the powerful Soul Sect Hall Masters had to do their all to defend themselves. By then their expressions had also thoroughly changed. Looking around, they could not find the sight of Xianxia's figure. The only thing they saw was the scene of numerous Hall disciples rapidly turning to ash, like insignificant dead leaves. They were no longer as calm and composed as earlier, and could do nothing other than tremble with fear in their hearts. The dragon soul domain made them lose track of the auras that they had locked onto Xianxia. When the flames erupted, they also blocked all sight and auras from the outside. They couldn't see how many people had died in the sea of flames and wouldn't dare to think about it either. The more frightening thing was that they had no idea in which direction Ling Yun had fled. "Let's not bother with the disciples now. Let's quickly find Ling Yun. We must find him at any cost. He has been severely injured, and producing such a wide domain of flames would certainly exhaust most of his strength. He will definitely be somewhere in the vicinity. We can't let him leave this place alive no matter what." In the midst of the seething sea of golden flames, Xianxia was flying while holding little Jasmine tightly to him. His entire body was dyed in blood, and he was panting heavily. The speed at which he was flying was also extremely slow, him unleashing Yellow Springs ashes with all his might and rage, when he was severely injured, lead to a vast depletion of his energy. Making sure that he had managed to sever all the auras that had locked onto him, Xianxia stretched his arm forward as he swiftly summoned the primordial profound arc. The moment the arc appeared, he entered inside it along with little Jasmine, and then traveled 150 kilometers straight to the west in the next instant. The energy required by the primordial profound arc to travel through the God realm was exceedingly great. Back then in the God-burying inferno, although it could be considered creating a miracle, the profound arc had used up half of the energy of the vermilion bird jade just to cover the short distance of 150 kilometers. In the lower realm, not only did the profound arc needed far less energy to travel 150 kilometers in an instant, it was also an absolute means to safely escape when required. But in the God realm, the ability of the profound arc didn't amount to much. It was definitely not Xianxia's intention to flee no further than 150 kilometers. It was just that he had no choice in the matter, as that was the maximum limit of the primordial profound arc now that he had used the profound arc once more. The remaining energy of the vermilion bird jade should also be completely exhausted. He got out of the primordial profound arc carrying little Jasmine, and then quickly put it away. At the moment, he could only pray that the Soul Sect members didn't sense the aura of the primordial profound arc, nor the turbulence of space under the separation effect of Yellow Springs ashes. He activated hidden flowing lightning and thoroughly concealed his and little Jasmine's auras. Xianxia's palm was also pressed firmly against her lips. After learning the lesson last time, he made sure that she wouldn't be able to open her mouth no matter how much she struggled. Perceiving that no aura was sweeping in his direction, Xianxia felt a bit easier in his heart. Borrowing the cover of the dark night and the dense fog, he carefully headed to the west while dragging his incomparable heavy body. Ooh, ooh, ooh. With her lips blocked, little Jasmine continuously twisted her body from side to side as she let out whimpers of dissatisfaction. "If you don't want to die, then behave yourself. Otherwise, I'll kill you before you try anything funny," gnashing his teeth, Xianxia said in a hoarse and ice-cold voice. He had to risk his life to finally get this slim chance of survival. Little Jasmine widened her eyes. She was just about to struggle and protest even more fiercely when a warm drop of liquid lightly fell on her hand. 1 drop, 2 drops, 3 drops, it eventually turned into a series of drops. In the blink of an eye, the tender and white back of her hand was completely dyed in the color of blood. Xianxia also staggered at this time as he knelt down heavily. He suddenly reached out his hand to pinch his throat so as to not let himself make any sounds. However, his chest was undulating so intensely as if it was on the verge of splitting apart. Little Jasmine stopped struggling. In her starry eyes gradually surfaced a dull, as well as an unprecedented vacant look. Far away in the distance, the sea of golden crow flames had already begun to speedily extinguish. The hall masters, vice hall masters, and the disciples who fortunately survived were crazily looking around for Xianxia. Unleashing such terrifying flames in a severely injured state would not only cost him an extremely large amount of profound strength, it would also greatly worsen his injuries. As such, everyone firmly believed that Xianxia wouldn't be able to go that far away in such a condition and would definitely be hiding nearby. Although they continuously increased the range of their search, they absolutely didn't think that Xianxia would be 150 kilometers away by now. Xianxia unceasingly panted more than 10 times before he managed to somewhat calm himself down. His palm had been pressed against little Jasmine's mouth and nose this whole time. If it was someone else in his right hand, he would have certainly opted to keep them inside the primordial profound arc, and then safely leave the mountain range with the help of moon-splitting cascade. However, he had personally experienced the utterly unruly and unreasonable behavior of little Jasmine, which would definitely spell their death. He absolutely couldn't have her suddenly come out of the primordial profound arc during his escape. Getting up on his feet once again, he rushed to the west. So long as he arrived at the western region of the Black Soul mountain range, he should be safe. But before he could go much further, an intense feeling of uneasiness abruptly assaulted him from behind. It was an aura that was extremely far away from him, but so terrifying that his body stiffened all of a sudden. The aura belonged to a being at the divine king realm, Lei Qianfeng. Xianxia immediately stopped in his tracks. His body was still on a withered tree, not daring to move in the slightest. "We respectfully welcome the sect master." High above in the sky far away that was illuminated by the golden crow flames which had yet to die out completely, a few more human figures could be seen. Xianxia clearly heard the words that were loudly shouted by many people at the same time. Lei Qianfeng swept his gaze over the surroundings. Every bit of the flesh on his face was twitching intensely. After he was contacted with the sound transmission, he didn't arrive at the place on his own. There was Lei Qianfeng beside him, as well as 5 divine spirit realm elders of the Black Soul divine sect in the back. But all of them had incomparably unsightly looks on their faces. They saw nothing but burnt corpses as far as they could see, and the disciples who were still alive had thoroughly dispirited expressions. The majority of them were either lightly or heavily injured by the flames. "This is all Ling Yun's doing." While speaking the words, Lei Qianfeng's lips were trembling intensely in a very obvious way. On his forehead, several swelled-up blue veins were on the verge of rupturing. "Yes," the hall master who was acting as the leader replied. Facing the fearsome aura and gaze of Lei Qianfeng, his whole head was drenched in cold sweat which resembled rainfall. "Then where's that Ling Yun?" Just a while ago, this subordinate severely injured Xianxia and we were about to capture him, but suddenly, he disappeared without a trace. This subordinate is currently searching for him. He surely hasn't gone that far, so this subordinate will soon." "You trash!" The 2 gloomy and chilly words caused all the hall masters to lose their voices and droop their heads as their hearts trembled in fear. A consciousness, vast as a sea, swept from him in all directions and almost covered the entire Black Soul mountain range. Although Xianxia was quickly fleeing until just a moment ago, he didn't dare to move in the slightest when Lei Qianfeng arrived, even if he had hidden flowing lightning. Feeling the other party's spirit sense sweeping over, he immediately held his breath and stayed still. The little Jasmine in his arms also became well-behaved at this time all of a sudden, and similarly didn't make any movements. After a long while, Lei Qianfeng retrieved his spirit sense. Countless profound beasts lived in the Black Soul mountain range, and there was also an extremely large number of disciples gathered as well. Consequently, the auras were incomparably mixed up with each other. With the fog also limiting his senses, it was very difficult for even a powerful divine king like him to find an unusual aura within such a wide area and under such circumstances. Besides, Yun Qi had hidden flowing lightning to conceal his aura, but he soon narrowed his eyes. The humiliation of having to close the gates of the sect, the hatred for the murder of his son and the slaughter of numerous disciples tonight, enraged him to the limit. It was natural that his heart was burning with fury to the extent of making him go insane. Yun Qi was extremely capable in hiding himself, and all of Soul Sect's members knew about it. When even he himself was unable to find Yun Qi's aura, it was all the more impossible for anyone else. He suddenly said in a slow voice, "Even though Ling Yun has again disappeared, he must be still in the Black Soul Mountain range. Isn't that right?" The hall master who was leading the rest blankly stared for a brief moment before promptly answering, "Yes, sect master. Furthermore, he should be nearby. This subordinate has definitely dealt him a severe injury. He absolutely couldn't have run very far in his condition." "Very good," Lei Qianfeng gnashed his teeth. "Then let's turn him into ash together with this Black Soul Mountain range." Crack. Ferocious black streaks of lightning burst out of Lei Qianfeng's arms at the same time. In an instant, a violent blast forcibly blew Lei Qianfeng and the 5 elders away, making them almost vomit blood. Lei Qianfeng said in a frightened voice, "Sect Master, could it be that you want to?" Within the extremely short time he took to say those few words, a terrifying amount of energy had gathered on Lei Qianfeng. That was enough to easily exterminate the former. In face of his fearsome expression and eyes, Lei Qianfeng didn't dare to say a word to persuade him against his decision. He immediately roared downwards, "All disciples of the 64 halls, get high up in the sky. Hurry!" Sensing the abrupt expansion of the terrifying aura, all Soul Sect disciples displayed an ashen look on their faces. They immediately understood what Lei Qianfeng was planning to do in his frenzied state. Hearing Lei Qianfeng's roar, they flew up into the sky one after another in such a hurry that it seemed like they were competing with each other, and fled thousands of meters up into the sky. The lightning on Lei Qianfeng's body grew increasingly fearsome. It was not only his energy that was becoming frightening, but also his great fury and hatred as a divine king. It was his first time feeling such a crazily strong urge to kill someone at all costs, even if it meant burying the entire Black Soul Mountain along with his enemy. In the distance, the sockets of Yun Qi's eyes widened to their limits as his pupils shrank severely. If he were to attempt to escape at this time, there was not a shadow of a doubt that he would be detected. On the other hand, if he remained hidden in place, he would also get exterminated along with the mountain. Rather than saying that Lei Qianfeng was crazy and vicious to do such a thing, it was more like his hatred for Yun Qi had taken root deep in his marrow. "Ling Yun, this king wants you to turn into nothingness." While howling in anger, Lei Qianfeng flung his arms down. 2 pitch-black streams of lightning, appearing like a lightning dragon intending to annihilate the world, descended with great force while issuing a sky-shaking roar. The lightning dragon was actually flying in Yun Qi's direction, as it was the place that was closest to the center of the eastern region of the Black Soul Mountain range. When the lightning dragon began its descent, the entire eastern region of the mountain range, and even a very big part of the western region, was flattened. Because it was the power of a divine king. Yun Qi's pupils shrank rapidly, but the reflection of the lightning dragon speedily enlarged in his pupils. The moment his pupils stopped showing any movement, all his fear disappeared without a trace, and was replaced by an even more intense ruthlessness than Lei Qianfeng. As the lightning dragon came falling down, a world-annihilating aura enveloped the entire Black Soul Mountain range. Little Jasmine raised her head slightly. When the lightning dragon arrived before their eyes, a strange blue light suddenly flashed in her eyes. But at the same time, Yun Qi rushed forward all of a sudden. He met the world-annihilating lightning dragon with his right arm as it drew a bizarre arc in the air. The order in the world ahead was thrown into disorder, and the laws of nature changed abruptly. All of UD, Moon, Star, Restoration. The lightning dragon seemed extremely mighty and world-shocking, and its roar was great enough to frighten the sky. But when it came into contact with the space in front of Yun Qi, it turned back suddenly, like light being reflected by the smooth surface of a mirror, and shot straight towards Lei Qianfeng and the other members of the Soul Sect that were beside him, with all its power and force. The blue light in little Jasmine's pupils disappeared, as her lips opened wide in an O shape. Qianfeng, purplish-black lightning overlaid crimson-red flames, inciting frightened and contorted faces. Crack! Far, far away, every living being in every corner of Darkia City heard an incessant thunderous rumble from the east. When they subconsciously looked in that direction, they realized that the eastern sky had transformed into a chaotic mess of webs where countless bolts of black lightning rampaged and tore the sky into shreds. Wee-uh! Countless frightened and shocked screams gathered together, which suppressed the sounds of the roaring thunder. This was thanks to Lei Qianfeng, who had reached the boiling point. He didn't hold back and used all of his strength. Since Lei Qianfeng had just shot out both lightning dragons, his energy levels were currently at a deficit. Added to the fact that he wasn't on guard at all, he only managed to activate 30% of his power in his fright when the power reversed and came back at him. The lightning dragons exploded right in front of him, sending him flying. His face was completely white as he suffered both internal and external injuries. Since he was a super expert in the divine king realm and the lightning dragons were his own ability, he should have been able to have a firm defense. However, even 4 of the 5 elders who were not standing more than 30 meters away from him were caught in the epicenter of the blast as well. They were mighty divine spirit realm experts who could walk unhindered throughout the Darkia realm, but against a divine king realm's power. An all-out attack which stemmed his rage at that. Forget about being caught unprepared. Even if they were prepared, they were basically helpless before it. In the instant Lei Qianfeng was blasted away, all 4 Soul Sect elders let out miserable cries. Their profound energy defenses and bodies were entirely pierced through by the lightning. In a few breaths, they were all smashed into bits and pieces. The 5th elder was with Lei Qianfeng about a kilometer higher in the sky. He was trying to gather the disciples of the 64 halls who were spread apart disorderly. Although they weren't in the blast center, the might from the lightning was as terrifying as a heavenly annihilation, causing them to quickly activate their defenses. What sounded in their ears was the most frightening screech of lightning they had ever heard in their entire lives, followed by countless despairing wails of disciples. After an unknown period of time, the lightning began to scatter. Lei Qianfeng looked up in shock. His body was in terrible pain and wounds were all over his body. However, he couldn't even take care of himself as he stared dazed ahead, both eyes wincing. Countless Soul Sect disciples had already perished under Xianxia's golden crow flames, but now more than half that number were cut down in almost no time at all. Many of them were literally burned to nothingness, and even more charred bodies were falling from the sky in droves. Shockingly, and at first glance, only 30 to 40,000 fortunate disciples had survived the attack, but every one of them was wounded in some way. Over 100,000 disciples had been reduced to a third within the blink of an eye, And these were the Soul Sect's brightest and most talented disciples. Losing even one was considered a great loss to the sect. As he glanced downwards, he saw Lei Qianfeng's completely pale face, blood dripping from the corners of his mouth as his profound strength surged in turmoil. The 4 elders that had been beside him, not a trace of them was left. Just this glance left Lei Qianfeng trembling in horror. His heart felt as if though it was going to jump out of his chest. Of the 8 divine spirit realm elders within the Soul Sect, 4 of them had been lost in but a single moment. This was unquestionably a great loss to the Soul Sect. No, this was a catastrophe. Who is it? Lei Qianfeng's body teetered from side to side, his entire aura thrown into chaos. The words he was muttering under his breath definitely contained terror. He heaved a few heavy breaths and gathered all of his strength, shouting in his bravest and mightiest voice, "May I know which senior is out there and why you have ambushed my Black Soul Divine Sect?" Everyone held their breaths. They had seen with their own eyes the cause of the disaster. It was the counterforce from Lei Qianfeng trying to annihilate the Black Soul Mountain Range. Reflecting the full force of a divine king was tens of thousands of times more difficult than just receiving and blocking it. To the profound practitioners of the Darkia realm, Lei Qianfeng was the only existence closest to a true god. They couldn't even imagine what level of strength one must have to completely reflect a divine king power. Moonstar Restoration, when activated, didn't require profound strength and thus didn't leak any traces of profound energy. Add on the most recent blast and the shock everyone was in, they naturally wouldn't be able to discover Xianxia's presence. But this didn't mean that Xianxia had escaped danger. As Lei Qianfeng's voice trailed off, an ancient aura started to fill the sky from far away, causing Lei Qianfeng and Lei Qianfeng's faces to change. This aura wasn't actually strong, but it was extremely thick and heavy, causing all their souls and hearts to feel as if they were descending into an endless abyss. At the same time, it planted a seed of thought within each of their hearts, that in front of this grand aura they were as pathetic and small as ants. This is... Shock splashed all over Lei Qianfeng's face. Dragon force. This soul pressure wasn't huge. It almost seemed like it was casually released, but its level was extremely high. Even Lei Qianfeng, who was a mighty divine king, felt weak and puny beneath the pressure of this dragon force. His soul continued to tremble within him. "Despicable humans!" A thunderous voice came from an unknown direction. It contained a power and anger so great that it left Lei Qianfeng shaking. "This noble one is dignifying this place by resting here, but I've received a baseless attack from all of you. I was just meting out some punishment, and instead of repenting you dare accuse this great one of executing a sneak attack. Are all humans from the Eastern Divine region this despicable and shameless?" This majestic voice left Lei Qianfeng stuck in place, and the anger from the voice greatly distressed him. As the Darkia Realm King, Lei Qianfeng had a vast amount of experience. In his younger years, he had traveled to the Western Divine region and even passed by the Dragon God realm. He had seen innumerable mighty beings deserving of respect. He had even seen some of the dragon race. One of the strongest he saw was a divine, sovereign, true dragon. Yet the suppression he felt from that divine, sovereign, true dragon couldn't be compared to this aura. It was nothing compared to this. Furthermore, that voice had said, "Humans from the Eastern Divine region." This meant that it didn't come from the Eastern Divine region. Could it be that it was actually a dragon god that came from Western Divine region's dragon god realm? With this thought, Lei Qianfeng felt as if his gallbladder was going to burst from fright. He humbly and meekly replied, "So, Senior is from the distant dragon god realm? Junior, even if Junior had guts the size of the heavens, I would never dare disturb Senior. What happened before was just an accident. Since you don't dare, then quickly scram." Dragons didn't love to fight, but that didn't mean that they would shun it. Dragons were slow to anger, but once angered, they'd make sure to flip the skies upside down. And this voice that sounded in their ears was the voice of an extremely angry dragon god. Each word felt like a judge's gavel that pounded into their very souls. Lei Qianfeng was completely cowed. As if he was the recipient of a very large gift, he hurriedly cried out, Yes, Junior will bring everyone away. Just having the presence of Senior here is a great honor for my Darkia realm. Junior's sect is just located east of the mountain range. If Senior has any requests, I, Lei Qianfeng, swear to fulfill them." He answered with the greatest speed and didn't dare to tarry any longer. "Go, quickly go." The souls of Lei Qianfeng and the others had long been sent flying by this dragon god realm senior. After hearing this order, no one dared to hesitate. They hurriedly gathered all their disciples together, even the ones who had yet to recover from the disaster, and rushed back eastwards while trying to make as little noise as possible. As they got further away, the dragon might that covered the sky slowly started to fade away. They breathed sighs of relief, yet still did not dare to look back. Their speed didn't slow down, and they even sped up. Within Darkia Mountain, Xianxia was leaning against a dry tree, his entire body covered in sweat. He had suffered grave injuries, the injuries from the effects of yellow spring ashes being the heaviest. Making use of moon star restoration caused him to expend even more energy. He had released the dragon soul domain in an extremely large radius to scare away Lei Qianfeng, causing a great mental burden and expenditure of his mental energy. He had also forcefully released the pressure brought about by the dragon soul and was now utterly exhausted. The crisis was over. He had stopped the attack by using dragon might that came from the primordial azure dragon. Xianxia was sure that Lei Qianfeng wouldn't dare come near for the time being, but the price for this was his body and mental faculties being spent to the extreme. Little Jasmine slowly started to move her lips. Under the dark sky, her eyes were gleaming. "Brother-in-law, so you're this strong. It looks like they've all run away, having been scared off by you." Xianxia's body started to slide down the dried tree. His body and mind felt incredibly heavy. Even little Jasmine, who was so near to him, looked like a blurred shadow. He panted heavily and gnashed his teeth. I must have really owed you in my past life?" Thud. Everything grew black around him. He fell on the ground and fainted. Little Jasmine crouched down and then lifted her hand, poking Xianxia on the nose. A while later, she softly murmured, "There's actually such a big idiot." Lei Qianfeng couldn't be bothered with his injuries. Before leaving the area, he didn't stop at all. He only started to slow down once he had left the Black Soul Mountain region, but his chest was still pounding. The fear in him had not completely subsided. Sect Master, that aura, is it really from the Western Divine region, from the Dragon God realm? Lei Qianfeng asked a little unbelievingly. This king once visited the Western Divine region. That was a peerless dragon force. I can't be wrong, Lei Qianfeng panted. Furthermore, that isn't a normal kind of dragon force. It's highly possible that it belongs to a divine master dragon god. What? Lei Qianfeng and the remaining 5 elders who had fortunately survived shouted in surprise. Lei Qianfeng turned around and swept his eyes across them. How many disciples do we have left? We only have 36,000 disciples left, and all of them are injured. The rest are? Lei Qianfeng pursed his lips. He couldn't continue any further. 100,000 talents and 4 elders slaughtered in one night. This was much crueler than the worst of his nightmares. Furthermore, more than half of them died thanks to his own strength. Old 4 and the rest, 5th elder's gaze darkened. To think that there's someone from the dragon god realm here. Being able to appease him and for us to return alive, we can be considered to be lucky beyond belief. Lei Qianfeng balled up his fists. His gaze then turned cold. It's all because of that Ling Yun, sect master? A hall master hurriedly rushed forward. He was one of the first few hall masters who had heavily injured Yun Qi. This subordinate has a matter to report. I suspect that the dragon force just now could be one of Ling Yun's tricks. Lei Qianfeng frowned. One of Ling Yun's tricks? What do you mean? Sect Master, this subordinate nearly had the opportunity to kill Ling Yun in one strike. However, my consciousness suddenly suffered a strong blow. That moment allowed Ling Yun to escape, and what this subordinate felt at that time was similar to that dragon force from just now. So, bullshit, Lei Qianfeng shouted. This king has traversed the Western Divine region several times. Whether it's true dragon force or not, who would be clearer on this than me? If that's one of Ling Yun's tricks, then how do you explain how my power was reflected? Was that also Ling Yun? Cold sweat trickled down that hall master's forehead, and he hurriedly replied, Please don't be angry, sect master. This subordinate was impulsive. Take your leave. Lei Qianfeng lifelessly remarked before heavily sighing. We've lost 100,000 bright and talented disciples in one night. 2nd, 4th, 6th, and 7th elders were also killed. If this matter were to spread, our Soul Sect's reputation will sink to the very bottom. Sect Master, ever since Ling Yun appeared, our sect has faced misfortune after misfortune. Even today, we failed to kill him. With regards to the matter of Ling Yun, why not? Before Lei Qianfeng could finish his piece, he saw Lei Qianfeng raising a transmission jade, his entire face contorting. What did you say? Bang. The sound transmission jade was smashed into dust. Lei Qianfeng dashed out of main sect gates like a madman. Lei Qianfeng and the 5 other elders exchanged glances before hurriedly chasing after him. In a black-colored world, his consciousness was slow returning to him. When Yun Qi opened his eyes, he saw a small-statured red-colored silhouette standing before him, silently gazing at him. That matchless, beautiful little face carried a tinge of pride and coldness. She was still wearing her favorite smoky red fairy dress. Her scarlet hair reached her hips, making her look both gentle and delicate. Jas, mine, Yun Qi whispered. He knew he was in a dream, but his soul couldn't stop trembling with excitement. You've gotten yourself badly injured again. Don't tell me it's because of that woman. Jasmine stared at him, that familiar gaze and tone and that forcefulness of posture, the demeanor of a master. He, Yun Qi chuckled. Yes, she's called Little Jasmine. HMPH? Jasmine was angered. When will you learn to properly your life? Over those years with you, I've made many misjudgments, but one thing I'm certain of is that if one day you are absolutely and totally dead, the cause will be a woman. If it's for you, Yun Qi looked at her and replied resolutely, I won't hesitate. Idiot! She scolded him once more and then turned around, her gaze also leaving him. Before we parted, I already said everything. We're no longer fated and have no more ties to one another. Our paths will no longer cross. Live well, don't have any more senseless hopes, even if it is for me. As her voice trailed off, that dreamlike figure of hers gradually turned blurry. Jasmine, don't go, I have a lot more to talk with you about, Jasmine. Yun Qi sat up, the pain all over his body jolting him completely awake. His vision also slowly started to clear up. This place seemed like a naturally formed cave. There was a small campfire made of broken pieces of wood. A young girl dressed in a colorful dress was seated in front of him. Her cheeks and chin rested on both her palms as she stared at him without blinking. Awake so soon, I thought you would sleep longer. Little Jasmine's hands still stayed in their positions, holding her cute face in the middle. She softly continued, "Your injuries are very serious." "How long was I asleep for?" He had a splitting headache. He put his hand on his head for quite a while before slowly easing his grip. "The loss of my mental energy is greater than the injuries I've suffered physically. I'll probably only be able to recover after a long period of time." Little Jasmine tilted her head, recalling, "Probably around 2 to 3 hours. Oh yeah, brother-in-law, you were constantly shouting out Big Sister Jasmine's name just now." Xianxia paused a while to breathe and slowly sat up, his back leaning against the stone wall. The darkness outside had some faint light shining through it. It was probably way past midnight. "Where is this place? Was it you who brought me here?" "Of course it was me. You think it's those bad guys?" Little Jasmine pouted. "Anyways, I don't know where this place is, but it's very safe. There's nothing notable within the surroundings. You really need to thank me, brother-in-law. If I hadn't done such back-breaking work dragging brother-in-law to this safe place, you'd most likely have been eaten by profound beasts by now." Xianxia didn't speak further. He slowly and steadily tried to regain consciousness. It was just that he couldn't get rid of the floating red figure he saw in his dreams out of his vision. "Jasmine!" His consciousness began to fade once more. Little Jasmine opened her lips slightly, a little startled at his dazed-like state, and hurriedly asked, "Brother-in-law, are you very angry with me right now?" Xianxia started to wake once more and glared at Little Jasmine. "What do you think? Forget about the last time. This time I almost got killed because of you." "Heh." Little Jasmine stuck her tongue out cheekily. Actually be it this time or the last, I let those bad people discover me on purpose. It's because I knew that brother-in-law was by my side. If not, they would never have been able to find me." "You!" Xianxia violently turned his head, staring daggers at her. "You really are not as simple as you look. Who the hell are you, and why are you trying to harm me?" "I don't want to harm brother-in-law. Both of Little Jasmine's eyebrows started to curve as she giggled. "I just wanted to see if brother-in-law was willing to brave every danger to come and save me." "HMPH?" Xianxia scowled as he spat out the following words. "We have no ties to each other. Where does your confidence that I'll save you time and again come from?" "It's definitely because I'm so pretty and so lovable. Brother-in-law would never bear to even let me suffer a hair's worth of harm." "Xianxia? Oh, and there's this other, very little reason." Little Jasmine started to speak in a hushed tone. "I wanted to know if it's because I have the same name as Big Sister Jasmine that brother-in-law didn't abandon me. I never would have thought that brother-in-law was actually this stupid." It was as if every word of Little Jasmine's was piercing Xianxia's fatal weakness. The reason why he threw caution to the wind and every time to risk his life to save this little girl whom he had no ties with. The biggest reason. No, the only reason was because her name was Little Jasmine. Perhaps it was a coincidence, and perhaps she was spouting nonsense back then. But to Xianxia, who had come to the god realm alone, whose entire being was preoccupied with Jasmine, Little Jasmine was indeed a name that touched the depths of his heart. He wanted to reject her for having the same name. He was disgusted that she obstinately called Jasmine Big Sister Jasmine while also calling him brother-in-law. However, unknowingly she had left her mark on his heart. He couldn't ignore those weighty feelings that kept coming to him whenever Little Jasmine seemed to be in danger. "There won't be a next time, and don't call me brother-in-law, SSS." His tone was grave and speaking opened some wounds. Xianxia winced in pain, his body slightly convulsing. Unexpectedly, after this lecture from Xianxia, Little Jasmine didn't behave in her usual obstinate and unruly manner. She slightly pouted, looking extremely guilty and hurt. "Brother-in-law, I already know I'm in the wrong. At that time, I thought it was fun. I didn't know that you would suffer to this extent." She reached out her hand, gently hovering close to Xianxia's chest wound, seemingly wanting to touch it, yet not daring to. "Does it hurt a lot? I promise I won't do it again. I definitely won't." Looking at her pitiful look and contrite manner, Xianxia could no longer vent his bellyful of indignance and anger. He casually and helplessly shook his head. "Forget it as long as you know you were in the wrong." Before he had even finished speaking, Little Jasmine's eyes brightened as she replied cheerfully, "I knew brother-in-law wouldn't stay angry at me." "Heh. Brother-in-law, when you were sleeping, you shouted Big Sister Jasmine's name dozens of times. Risking danger to save me was also because of Big Sister Jasmine. You treat Big Sister Jasmine so well, no wonder she was willing to marry you." Xianxia gently took in a breath. "Since you've been honest with me, I'll also be honest with you about this. Jasmine, she's actually not my wife, she's my teacher." Little Jasmine's mouth went wide. Teacher. Then brother-in-law should be extremely respectful of her, am I right? Respectful? Xianxia lifted his head. I don't know what my feelings for her are. She's my teacher, but she's much more than just a teacher to me. Little Jasmine didn't interrupt and silently looked at him, not blinking. She's taught me many things, but I've never felt the sort of gratitude or respect that one has towards a benefactor. She's saved me countless times. If not for her, I would have been a dead body lying around somewhere, but I've never had the sort of thankfulness one has towards a savior. She's the one in this world that has scolded me the most. She's the fiercest. Yet I've never been mad at her. In fact, when I dream, I hope to see and hear her scolding me again, 1,000 times, no, 10,000 times. Without realizing it, all these feelings started pouring out. Because of Jasmine, he came to the God realm. He had met countless people, yet he was still constantly lonely. He had to bury his plans for Jasmine deep within his heart. Her name was the worst kind of taboo imaginable here. He couldn't speak of her, he couldn't talk about her to anyone. Right now, he could not help but confide in this girl called Little Jasmine, who constantly shouted the term brother-in-law, brother-in-law at him. Without knowing why, he poured his heart out and confided in her. I've always known that she and I were from different worlds, but I never would have imagined that our parting would be so abrupt, so decisive. After she left, I felt as if half of me was suddenly missing. I initially thought that it was because I was used to relying on her strength and the sense of security that she gave me, but later on I slowly realized that it was her that I was used to, everything about her. Without her, my life will always have an unfillable vacancy. Little Jasmine opened her mouth. Then are you looking for her now? Amen. Xianxia was so focused on his emotions that he didn't realize the strangeness of Little Jasmine's question. He half murmured, I was born in the lower realms. I came to the God realm just to see her again. No matter what, I have to find her, even if it's just to properly say goodbye. Xianxia closed his eyes. If I can find Jasmine, and if it's only just to say goodbye, will I really truly be satisfied? You came to the God realm to look for big sister Jasmine. Is that the one and only reason? Little Jasmine continued. Amen, Xianxia replied without hesitation. Little Jasmine's gaze started to turn restless. Then where is she now, and how are you going to look for her? I know where she is, it's just that it's a place that I can never reach. Xianxia gave a self-deprecating cold laugh. But I've found a way to see her again. It's just that I have to find 2 items. If I find them, I will definitely be able to see her in 2 years. Oh, what items? A small hand rested on Xianxia's shoulder and started to gently shake him. Tell me. I might have heard of them before. Xianxia chuckled. Of these 2 items, one is called Divine 9-Star Buddha Jade, the other is called Immortal Emperor Grass. Divine 9-Star Buddha Jade, Immortal Emperor Grass. Little Jasmine started to repeat these names to herself, her eyes constantly blinking. I feel like I've heard of them before, but it also feel like I haven't. They are exceedingly rare items. Not knowing of them is normal. Xianxia wasn't surprised at the puzzled look on Little Jasmine's face and slowly stopped speaking. Xianxia's consciousness then became even heavier. He glanced at the weather outside and started concentrating. He began to channel the great way of the Buddha. I'm going to start my recovery. It's best you don't disturb me again. Go have a nice rest. I'll bring you out of here at dawn. Oh, Little Jasmine replied, looking somewhat distracted. After activating the great way of the Buddha, Xianxia swiftly settled down. His physical body and mental state started to swiftly recover. Such strange names. It feels like I don't have those stuff at home. Little Jasmine was deep in thought. Finally, after much time and putting much effort into thinking about this matter, her eyes lit up. That's right. I can ask those few grandpas from the heavenly mystery realm. After she felt certain, the little girl started to become lively again. She immediately started flying into the air, and within the blink of an eye, she disappeared. All 64 halls of the Soul Sect had suffered heavy losses. The insides of the sect were a picture of fear and panic. After receiving the news, Lei Qianfeng rushed back at lightning speed. As he stepped into the sect, he sensed an aura of poison which sent shockwaves through his heart. This was obviously the same poison that killed Lei Guangmo. His footsteps became quicker, and with a bang, he smashed through the doors. A drifting scarlet-colored mist with a terrifying poisonous aura filled the entire great hall. Lei Qiandu and 2 other elders were in the hall, their faces grim. Xiao Qingtang was seated on the floor, weeping non-stop. She didn't even have a reaction to Lei Qianfeng's door-breaking arrival. 6 people had the aura of the poison on them, and all 6 were lying on the ground, without the strength to stand. They didn't even have the energy to moan. These 6 were the 6 sons he had left after he'd lost Lei Guangmo, all of them. Lei Qianfeng's mind popped. It was as if his brain had just exploded. He staggered forward, the pain and turmoil from seeing Lei Guangmo die in front of him, that panic, that fear, and that helplessness. What happened? What exactly happened? Lei Qianfeng rushed to the bodies of his 6 sons, shouting, "Sect Master!" Lei Qiandu walked over. "They've all been poisoned by the same poison as Guangmo, and the dosage is far higher. Ling Yun, he obviously sneaked into our sect and ambushed all 6 young masters." A chilling unease scuttled down Lei Qiandu's back as he gave an explanation. Lei Qianfeng grimaced. He rushed to his eldest son Lei Guangqian, his voice trembling. "Qianer, what happened? How did you get poisoned?" Lei Guangqian's face was completely red. His lips opened a few times, struggling to speak before finally speaking in a painful whisper. "This child doesn't know, I just suddenly felt. My eyes become blurry. When I woke, I already cough. Royal Father, save me." Lei Qianfeng's body trembled violently as a coldness pierced through him. Not only did the main sect have Lei Qianfeng, it also had various elders and hall masters. Each and every single one of them was a pinnacle existence within the Darkia realm. There were also 8 million other disciples on guard. Lei Qianfeng's 6 sons were located within the heart of the sect, where their defenses were the most concentrated. It was not an exaggeration to say that it was the safest place within the entire Darkia realm. And one man had crept in without sight or sound, and managed to poison all 6 of them. No one knew when he'd entered, more so nobody knew when he had even left. What was even more frightening about this was that none of them even realized how they got poisoned. Roaring winds blew around as Lei Qianfeng and the other 5 elders finally caught up. When they saw the scene in front of them, they were shocked beyond measure. This, Lei Qianfeng couldn't wrap his head around it. He didn't dare speak for a moment after he saw Lei Qianfeng's expression. Lei Qiandu swept them with a glance while sending a private sound transmission. "Where's Old Four and the rest? Why haven't they come back with you all? They're dead." "What?" Lei Qiandu shouted, breaking the silence. His already sullen expression grew uglier. "Was it Ling Yun? No, that can't be. We can talk about that later." Lei Qianfeng hurried forward. "We need to find a way to save all the young masters now." As he took 2 steps forward, he suddenly fell back as frightened as could be. He saw that all 6 of them were poisoned more than what Lei Guangmo had initially suffered. Lei Qianfeng had tried his personal best. He had even used the top profound and spirit medicines of the sect, but it was all for naught as he was still unable to save Lei Guangmo. It could even be said that it was completely useless. At the moment, he didn't dare imagine what was going to happen next. "Ling Yun, you're ruthless." Lei Qianfeng clenched his teeth, quaking in anger. "Even if I have to chase you to ends of the primal chaos, I'll make sure to cut you into 10,000 pieces and turn your bones into dust." Xianxia Cultivation lifted her head, hoarsely speaking. "Lei Qianfeng, before you start cursing at Ling Yun, why not reflect on all the evil deeds you've done through the years? Think carefully about who it was that drew Ling Yun here. Do you now know what the meaning of retribution is? I've already lost more. If anything should happen to Qianer, I'll never forgive you. It's because their deaths are completely on you." "Why you shut up?" Lei Qianfeng howled. He placed both hands on his head as he helplessly sat down and started mumbling to himself. "No, there has to be a way. There's definitely a solution to all of this." "Sect Master, that poisoned Saint Blackheart," Lei Qianfeng hurriedly yelled. "He might still be in Darkia City. If it's really him, there'll definitely be a way to save all 6 young masters." "That's right," Lei Qiandu agreed. "Sect Master Guangmo's body hasn't gone cold yet. The poison is extremely frightening. We're completely helpless, and even if that poison saint is a fake, he's our only hope." "Then why are you all standing around and not asking the Black Feather Merchant Guild to locate that whatever Blackheart?" Lei Qianfeng roared. "Once you find him, I don't care what sort of price or condition he declares. Just agree to everything first. Bring him here at the fastest speed." "Sect Master," Lei Qianfeng replied. "Have you forgotten the last time we went to invite Poison Saint Blackheart? He wanted us to bring the patients to him." "That bastard," Lei Qianfeng roared once more. "He's but a mere poison doctor, a homeless dog that's been chased across the different star realms, and he still thinks he's really something. Does is worthy of this king personally coming to knock on his door. After you find him, it's best that he come here willingly. If he doesn't, just knock him out and drag him back." "This," Lei Qianfeng had an awkward look on his face, being put in a spot. "Lei Qianfeng?" Xianxia Cultivation flicked both her sleeves as she stood up. She was just grieving over one son's death, yet now the other had been poisoned by the exact same poison. Her heart was a mess, and she couldn't be bothered to give him any face. She started berating him. That poison Saint Blackheart has been targeted across so many Middle Star realms for thousands of years, and he's still alive and well. Why should he give a damn about a lower star realm sect master? If he's considered a nobody, then ask yourself what you are. You can't even protect your own son. Just because of a little bit of face, you caused Moore's death. Are you now also prepared to let all your sons die because of you? You! This bout of scolding turned Lei Qianfeng's entire face green, then white. He didn't retort, but instead blew up once more. What are all of you standing there for? Quickly inform the Black Feather Merchant Guild. This king will give them 3 hours. I don't care if the Poison Saint is still in Darkia City. They better locate him within 6 hours, or else this king won't let them off. Understood. Lei Tiangang immediately accepted the order. Qiandu, Lei Qianfeng grunted, start preparing immediately. This king will head to Darkia City with Qianer and the others in an hour. Bring as many profound stones as you can get. That poison Saint Blackheart better be for real. He better be what the rumors say, that he can cure any poison in this world, or else this king will personally crush every single one of his bones. Now go. When Yun Qi had opened his eyes, the sky was already shining brightly. Thanks to the mighty great way of the Buddha, his external injuries had all healed. No more visible wounds could be seen. His internal injuries were also around 70 to 80% healed. He had recovered almost all of his profound strength. It was just that his mental strength had only recovered about 1/4 to 1/3 of its capacity. The reason why he rushed to wake up was because he had something extremely important to do. While he was recovering, he had left a strand of awareness outside. When little Jasmine had left, he had felt it, but until now, she hadn't returned. Who is she? Yun Qi stood up. He thought back to the times where they had coincidentally met, as well as the things she spoke about the night before. Yun Qi suddenly had a profound realization that this girl was indeed not as simple as she looked. She even probably had certain specific reasons for getting close to him, but they hadn't met before, and it was even less likely that they had a grudge between them. So what was she? As Yun Qi was in deep thought, his sound transmission jade suddenly started to vibrate. Picking up the jade, he heard Jai Ruyan's serious voice. This is fantastic. Sir Ling Yun, the Soul Sect has indeed reacted as what you mentioned previously. They've once again asked us to track down the whereabouts of Poison Saint Blackheart, and this time they're much more anxious. Just earlier I tried to contact you directly but didn't manage to get through. I was thinking that something might have happened to you. Making a brief calculation of what time it was currently, Yun Qi replied. Some unexpected events occurred. I am still at Black Soul Mountain. Returning to Darkia City will take some time. You need to find a way to stall them for a few hours. After a brief moment, Jai Ruyan finally replied, All right, but you have to hurry. After dispelling the air around him and removing all scent and traces of himself, he changed clothes. Yun Qi no longer cared about where little Jasmine had gone to. He flew out of Black Soul Mountain at top speed toward Darkia City. An abandoned area in the outskirts of Darkia City. It was an extremely run-down house where all its doors and windows were shattered. This was a place that rarely would have anyone passing it. However, today, this abandoned area was welcoming several distinguished guests. A group of people hurriedly came, Darkia Realm's King Lei Qianfeng at their forefront. Beside him was his equally heavily weighted wife Xiao Qingtang, whose position in the sect was on par with his. Behind them were Chief Hall Master Lei Tiangang and Great Elder Lei Qiandu. At their side was also the sect's chief physician, Lei Dayan. Behind them was a group of disciples that were carefully carrying all of Lei Qianfeng's poisoned sons. After such a long period of time, the poison in their bodies was erupting with greater intensity. All 6 bodies had crimson fumes wafting from them, carrying poison within. All the Soul Sect disciples were extremely uncomfortable due to this. They all landed in front of this little house, which the Black Feather Merchant Guild had told them about. As they got closer, the faces of Lei Qianfeng, Lei Tiangang, Lei Qiandu, and the rest of them changed. They all stopped in their tracks at the same time. They stopped as they felt an incredibly dark and cold, sinister aura. This cold, sinister aura didn't just come from outside forces, it also came from within. It rose from their hearts. This left them in a cold sweat and fearful, their hairs standing on end. This broken house in front of them seemed like it was submerged with the dark auras of the Yellow Springs itself. This left all these peak experts of the Darkia realm chilled to the bone. Sect Master, this is... Lei Tiangang revealed a look of surprise and curiosity. Such a terrifying feeling was nothing like he had ever experienced. And at this moment a hoarse and husky low laugh came from the house. "Hey he, looks like big business has found its way to my door. Come in. Hey he." This strange and eerie laughter, added to the extremely cold, sinister energy, scared several disciples as they retreated several steps. They felt cold all over. Lei Qianfeng's expression changed. Before he could even respond, Xianxia Cultivation, who was by his side, had already entered. He frowned and could only follow after her. The moment he entered the stone room, even greater cold abruptly assaulted his senses. It wasn't the kind of cold one felt when they suddenly fell down a snow hole. It was the kind of cold one felt when entering a ghost's domain. It was absolutely not profound frost energy. Not only that, the light inside the stone room was unusually dark, even though the place had holes here and there, and the doors and windows were wide open. When he went through the door, he actually felt like he had suddenly stepped into the night itself. This, and the sudden change in the air, caused even someone as powerful as Lei Qianfeng to tense up. Both his haughtiness and edge actually shrank without him realizing it. A man with a slightly crooked back, wrapped completely inside a bluish-black-colored cloak, stood inside the shabby stone room, revealing only half of his face. His half-face actually shared almost the same color as the cloak, and it was as withered as a mountain rock that had been exposed to sunlight for hundreds and thousands of years. He wasn't sure if it was just his senses playing tricks on him, but there was actually a faint, near indiscernible black energy circulating around the cloaked man's entire body. The sudden change in the air and his shocking appearance were all proof that the person before him was absolutely no ordinary person. Originally, Lei Qianfeng was both very anxious and angry. He was the king of a realm, so he had paid Poison Saint Blackheart no mind even if he turned out to be real. After all, Blackheart was but a small poison doctor. He wasn't worthy of the attention of the king of a realm. Moreover, he was quite paranoid right now. He didn't fully believe that Poison Saint Blackheart was really who he claimed he was. It was because Poison Saint Blackheart had literally never appeared in Darkia realm before. However, his thoughts had rapidly changed since the meeting. It was because the Poison Saint Blackheart's presence had truly struck fear in his heart. There was no way someone who could strike fear in his heart was a normal person. No, he should correct that further. The man before him must be an absolutely terrifying character. At the same time, his doubts as to whether the man before was Poison Saint Blackheart were mostly quelled. Lei Qianfeng quickly came to a standstill. The cold aura that ran wildly inside his body actually stopped him from approaching too close to Poison Saint Blackheart. While he was still in shock and doubt, Xianxia Cultivation asked anxiously, "Senior, are you the famous Senior Poison Saint?" "Heh." The old man clad in black let out an absolutely unpleasant laugh. "You've already crossed my doorstep, so why did you bother wasting your breath on such a pointless question? I am Poison Saint Blackheart. You are the ones who come to me with a request, so don't mind me being black-handed and black-hearted." "Hey." Xianxia Cultivation was worried about her son's safety, so she was going to kneel before Poison Saint Blackheart. "Poison Saint, please save my son if you can." "Wait." But Lei Qianfeng stopped her from doing so before narrowing his own eyes. "How can you prove that you're Poison Saint Blackheart?" Prove? A pair of eyes slowly appeared under the bluish-black cloak. The moment the Poison Saint's eyes met Lei Qianfeng's, the latter was so shocked that he trembled all over. It was because the Poison Saint's eyes were gleaming with shockingly black light. "Who the hell do you think you are? You want proof? Here's a suggestion. If you don't believe who I am, then get the hell out." Lei Qianfeng, who ruled Darkia realm with an iron fist, had never been belittled as badly as he was today. Anger immediately rose to his head, but the fear and shock he felt when he saw Poison Saint Blackheart's eyes and his 6 dying sons kept him from acting in anger. Instead, he summoned his profound energy and conjured a terrifying pressure that spread hundreds of kilometers away. Then he spoke in a dark tone. "Do you really know who I am?" "Heh." Lei Qianfeng's energy field failed to strike fear in the old man's heart. Not only was the old man staring at him with contempt, he was even wearing a cold, sympathetic laugh on his face. He lifted his arm, and a withered palm slowly stretched out of the old man's long sleeve. The palm was also surrounded by black aura that caused everyone who saw it to feel chilled all over. The coldness that had already filled up their bodies and souls from the beginning started moving even more wildly than before. "I can't remember the number of divine sovereigns I've killed with this one hand, but decades of seclusion is apparently all it takes for people to forget all about me. To think that a little divine king would dare to hoot right in my face, tut tut tut. It's no wonder people say that there are plenty of idiots among the lower star realms. Every word the old man uttered was like the sound of rubbing sandpaper. Not only were Lei Qianfeng and Lei Qiandu completely stunned by his bold words, Lei Qianfeng's own expression had taken a sudden dip. "You!" That was all he said, however. Not only did he not charge the old man in anger, his body even swayed a tiny bit backwards. Humans were such creatures. If the black-clad old man had spoken amiably and meekly, Lei Qianfeng would have acted overbearingly and cast all kinds of suspicion on him. But when Poison Saint Blackheart treated him with eeriness, disdain, contempt, arrogance, and ridicule in barely a few sentences, Lei Qianfeng's fear had actually skyrocketed in just 10 breaths' time after he entered the stone room. Although he was still frustrated inside, his imposingness had largely decreased. Not only was he afraid to act carelessly, he didn't even dare to curse Poison Saint Blackheart right now. Xiao Qingtang shot a glare at her husband before taking 2 quick steps forward, saying, "Senior Poison Saint, my husband has always been a rude and impetuous man, but I assure you that he doesn't hold you in disrespect in the slightest. My husband is the realm king of Darkia realm, and he has considerable wealth in his possession. If you can save my son's lives, we are sure to repay you handsomely." Lei Qianfeng was cautious and mistrustful, but right now Xiao Qingtang only wanted to grab onto this last hope as tightly as she could. Not only had the authenticity of Poison Saint Blackheart never crossed her mind, she had even told him the level of their wealth directly. It was almost as if she was afraid that this Poison Saint Blackheart wasn't black-hearted enough. This husband and wife shared very different personalities from each other. It was also a difference between men and women when dealing with such matters, especially when the safety of their children were involved. The black-clad old man laughed evilly. Of course. Everything is up on the table as long as you can pay the price. This old man has lived for many years, and I haven't fallen so low that I would lower myself to an ignorant junior's level. Now go bring in the patients." Lei Qianfeng's expression changed again and again, but he didn't say anything more. "Quickly, bring Qianer and everyone else in here now," Xiao Qingtang said urgently. Very soon, a dozen or so Soul Sect disciples carried Lei Qianfeng's 6 sons, one by one, into the room and put them down orderly before the black-clad old man. The black-clad old man continued to stand crookedly without moving his eyeballs even once. His nose twitched slightly before he said eerily, "Oh, it's the Scarlet Ghost Flame Poison." The black-clad old man uttered a name that none of them had ever heard before. The light of hope appeared on Xiao Qingtang's face. "Senior Poison Saint, do you know this poison?" He. Every time the black-clad old man laughed, he caused everyone around him to feel cold. "This poison comes from the southern divine region. It is fairly rare in the eastern divine region. All those who are afflicted by this poison will feel like they are scorched by flames, and when the poison activates, their body will become wrapped in scarlet energy until their internal organs are burned to dust. The poisonous air doesn't fade after the patient is dead. Instead, it will continue to eat at the corpse until all that's left is a pile of scarlet, withered bones. Not a drop of blood will be left when the poison has run its course, heh. Lei Guangmo's horrific death was still as clear as yesterday, so they knew that the black-clad old man had described the symptoms and the state of Lei Guangmo's death perfectly. His accurate assessment drew looks of surprise from Lei Tianguang and Lei Qiandu, and Lei Qianfeng's expression even changed slightly as a result. Everyone had been staring fixedly at the black-clad old man all this time. They were sure that he hadn't bent down to check the patients or even look at them directly. At most, the old man had sniffed once with his nose, but that was all it took for him to identify and explain the poison perfectly. At this point, Xiao Qingtang could no longer hide her agitation. "If you know this poison, then you must know how to cure it, right, senior?" "Heh, it's pretty simple." The black-clad old man's low chuckle was obviously disdainful. His short answer immediately caused Xiao Qingtang to become overjoyed and Lei Qianfeng to raise his eyebrows. The black-clad old man turned around and fished around aimlessly for something behind his cloak. When his hand reappeared, he was holding 6 dirty-looking pills in his hand. The pills were about the size of a fingernail, and they were dark green in color and wrinkly in appearance. Their surface was covered in discomfiting gray-brown patterns. The old man sent the 6 pills flying towards Xiao Qingtang with a flick of the finger. 1 pill for each person. The poison will be cured once they've consumed it. The terrible poison that bewildered the great Soul Sect and nearly drove Lei Qianfeng insane sounded unbelievably easy from Poison Saint Blackheart's mouth, and it almost seemed like the act was beneath him when he tossed the pills carelessly toward Xiao Qingtang. Xiao Qingtang clutched the pills tightly and was about to feed them to her sons before she even uttered another word. "Wait!" Lei Qianfeng abruptly grabbed Xiao Qingtang as quick as lightning before snatching the 6 pills from her hand at the same time. Before Xiao Qingtang could say anything, he reached out again and sucked a Soul Sect disciple into his palm as the latter let out an exclamation of surprise. "Sect! Sect Master!" The Soul Sect disciple looked completely confused. Lei Qianfeng didn't say anything, but a short, black sting had suddenly appeared between his fingers. Ignoring his victim's shrinking pupils, he thrust the sting straight into the Soul Sect disciple's heart. The sting vanished as if it had melted into the latter's body. "Thousand Souls Poison!" Lei Tiangang and Lei Qiandu exclaimed at the same time. Thousand Souls Poison was the scariest and the most cruel poison in the entire Darkia realm. Those who were poisoned would suffer 9 full hours of horrific pain before they ultimately died in abject suffering. There was no cure for Thousand Souls Poison except the profound energy of divine kings. And above, this also meant that Lei Qianfeng was the only one who could cure this poison in the entire Darkia realm. In Soul Sect, Thousand Souls Poison would only be used on traitors. It could be said to be the cruelest punishment that existed in Soul Sect. The poisoned Soul Sect disciple's solar plexus quickly took on a blue and black color. This horrific color quickly spread throughout his body, causing even the complexion of his face to turn gray. The disciple himself had collapsed to the floor and was convulsing madly in response, screaming at the top of his lungs. He looked like he was being pierced by 10,000 blades. Lei Qianfeng lifted him, forced open his jaw, and pushed one of the dark green pills into his mouth. Then he tossed him away and stared at him closely. His gloomy pupils immediately turned dumbstruck, however. The instant he had pushed the green pill into his mouth and tossed the disciple away, he suddenly felt that the Thousand Souls Poison was weakening. In fact, it was weakening so quickly that the Soul Sect disciples' struggles and screams had obviously reduced in just a few breaths' time. 10 breaths later, the Thousand Souls Poison's presence actually vanished entirely. Just like that, the Soul Sect disciple who was poisoned with the Thousand Souls Poison by Lei Qianfeng's own hands, 10 breaths later, stood up shakily from the ground with a look of utter shock, fear, and confusion. Lei Tiangang and Lei Qiandu's mouths fell wide open, as if they had seen a supernatural being. Lei Qianfeng was stunned for several breaths before he abruptly dashed forwards and grabbed the disciple's chest, scanning up and down his body using profound energy. He actually couldn't detect a trace of the Thousand Soul Poison at all. Lei Qianfeng moved his hand away and stood blankly for a very long time. He knew best just how deadly the Thousand Soul Poison was, and he had thought for the longest time that it was an incurable poison. Even he had to spend a large amount of effort to cure the poison with profound energy. But right now, an utterly unremarkable pill had completely cured the Thousand Soul Poison that he had planted with his own hands, in just several eye rolls. Although the scene had happened right before his eyes, he still couldn't quite believe what had actually happened. "Sect Master!" Naturally, Lei Tiangang and Lei Qiandu knew the result from Lei Qianfeng's abnormal reactions. Xiao Qingtang literally started tearing up as she exclaimed uncontrollably, "Senior Poison Saint Black is truly as amazing as the stories say. Qianer and everyone is saved now." Lei Qianfeng slowly turned around. At this point, he had no doubt in his mind that the black-clad old man before him was really Poison Saint Blackheart. On the contrary, he was starting to believe that Poison Saint Blackheart's detoxifying ability really was as amazing as the legend said. It was the Thousand Souls Poison, yet it was cured in just 10 breaths' time. Feed them the pills now." Lei Qianfeng couldn't keep his cool any longer after witnessing these green pills' miraculous abilities with his own eyes. He hastily passed them to Lei Qiandu and Lei Tiangang. He passed the pills to his 6th son, Lei Yunbai first. The scarlet mist surrounding Lei Yunbai quickly vanished from their gaze first. Then the poisonous breath that permeated his entire body like a nightmare started vanishing as well. In less than 20 breaths' time, Lei Yunbai's body and face had lost the unnatural scarlet complexion. Although his aura was still a little weak, he was able to sit up on his own without any more pain. When they scanned Lei Yunbai with their profound energy, they discovered that the poisonous aura inside his body had vanished entirely. This is literally a miracle, Lei Qianfeng exclaimed in absolute astonishment. The poison saint's reputation is well deserved. When the rest of Lei Qianfeng's sons saw that Lei Yunbai was freed from the horned dragon's terrible poison, their eyes immediately turned round as they started struggling and shouting, "Father, save me, save me! Quick, give them the antidote." Quickly, Lei Qianfeng said repeatedly. After seeing Lei Yunbai cured completely with her own eyes, Xianxia Cultivation was literally crying with joy. She hastily pulled over Lei Yunbai and said excitedly, "Yunbai, quickly, kowtow and thank Senior Poison Saint now. If it wasn't for Senior Poison Saint, all 6 of you would have." Lei Yunbai immediately kowtowed before Poison Saint Blackheart without a second thought. Junior Lei Yunbai thanks Poison Saint Blackheart for saving his life. The black-clad old man waited until he was done kowtowing before he slowly said, "You can save the kowtow and thanks. Just make sure pay me in full later, hey hey." When Lei Qianfeng turned around to look at the black-clad old man again, his eyes were completely different from before. The fact that this man could cure the terrible poison that he was helpless against, and had forced him to the brink of despair showed just how good his poison skills were. Therefore, it was very likely that Poison Saint Blackheart's claims that he had killed a couple of divine sovereigns with poison and didn't care about divine kings at all were real. His heart sank when he recalled this and his previous conduct. In fact, cold sweat was pouring down his back like waterfall right now. When he leaned forward, he unconsciously clasped his hands together in a salute. "Don't worry, Senior Poison Saint. Soul Sect will repay this great favor in spades." The black-clad old man cast him a sideway glance, but what came out of his mouth was a disdainful and evil laugh. "You, hehe, the Darkia Realm King, is it? I thought you would be a capable man hearing your boastful tone earlier, but in the end you can't even cure such a weak poison. I highly doubt that a conceited, foolish, and blind fellow like you will live for long." If this was any other time, Lei Qianfeng would be absolutely murderous hearing such a comment from anyone. But right now he actually straightened himself and said, "You are right, Senior. I've sat inside a well for too long. I nearly missed a true expert." Behind him, 2 of his sons were rid of their poisonous auras. As he relaxed, he said, "How about this? I heard that Senior Poison Saint saved 3 people from the Black Feather Merchant Guild from terrible poison when you first arrived at Darkia Realm, and that you charged them 1,000,000 profound stones each. Soul Sect is very grateful for your aid, so we are willing to pay you 5 times the price of your service, Senior." Lei Qianfeng said sincerely, "I will pay 5,000,000 profound stones for each pill you've granted us. Since you've saved 6 of our people, Soul Sect is willing to pay you 30,000,000 profound stones. Are you satisfied with this, Senior?" 6 random pills for 30,000,000 profound stones. 30,000,000 profound stones was a number that a normal person dared not imagine even in their entire lives. That was why he thought that this astronomical offer would delight Poison Saint Blackheart no end, no matter how black-hearted he might be. "Yay! Poison Saint Blackheart let loud an unbearably unpleasant laugh. "In the end, you are just the realm king of a small realm, hey hey." Lei Qianfeng looked confused. "I charged those people 1,000,000 profound stones each because that is more or less how much their whole lives were worth." The black-clad old man whispered eerily. "But these 6 people are different. They are the sons of the great realm king of Darkia Realm. You will agree that their lives are worth much more than the lives of ordinary people, won't you? Please show me the light clearly, Poison Saint." Lei Qianfeng abruptly felt worried. The black-clad old man slowly raised a withered finger and said eerily, 100,000,000 profound stones per life. Author's note. Why is there a character like Xianxia Cultivation? What's the point of her existence? What? There was no doubt that this old man was black-hearted since he had been named Poison Saint Blackheart. Since that was the case, Lei Qianfeng voluntarily increased it by 5 times its amount using the price of the 3 Black Feather Merchant Guild's men's lives as reference. But he never expected that this Poison Saint Blackheart would ask for 100,000,000. 100,000,000. This was exactly 100 times more than the 3 Black Feather Merchant Guild members. How was this black-hearted? This was a F-seeking theft. As the Darkia Realm's great realm king, Lei Qianfeng had the enormous Soul Sect under his control. However, to him, 100,000,000 profound stones was still not a small number. Furthermore, he had 6 sons, bringing the total up to 600,000,000 profound stones. Lei Qianfeng twitched all over, starting from the corner of his mouth all the way to the back of his neck. However, the awesomeness of this Poison Saint Blackheart naturally made him unable to flare up. He said with a bitter face, "Senior Poison Saint, the lives of my sons are naturally priceless, and this humble one is absolutely not a stingy person, but pricing the detoxifying spirit pellets at 100 million profound stones per pellet is indeed a bit. Is it possible for this senior make a small exception?" "Exception? Heh," the black-clad old man laughed coldly. "Darkia Realm King, this old man is well aware of whether or not you are able to take out 600 million profound stones. You dare haggle with me? Heh, I'm afraid that you haven't heard of the Blackheart in my name enough times." The black-clad old man's words utterly discomforted Lei Qianfeng as an indescribable unease surfaced in his heart. Just as he was about to say something, Lei Tiangang's voice suddenly came over. "Sect Master, we're still missing one?" Lei Qianfeng abruptly turned around. "What do you mean by missing one?" As soon as the words left his mouth, he suddenly came to his senses. The total number of detoxifying pellets Poison Saint Blackheart threw over to him previously just happened to total 6. However, due to his own cautiousness, he gave the first pellet to the Soul Sect disciple infected with the 1,000 Souls poison. The remaining amount he had quickly given to Lei Tiangang and Lei Qiandu only totaled 5. In his excitement and worry earlier, he had actually neglected this fact. The poison auras of the 5 that had been given the antidote faded. Their complexions became rosy, and they no longer looked pained. Seeing his brothers break free of the toxin, the anxious struggle of the one remaining became more violent. Lei Qiangang's shout had then increased the intensity of his struggling even more. "Royal Father, Mother, quick, save me!" The one which had yet to be detoxified was astonishingly Lei Guangqian, the only son left between Lei Qianfeng and Xiao Qingtang. "Qianer!" Xiao Qingyang cried painfully. Then she yelled in a rage, "You too, why didn't you give the antidote to Qianer first?" "This," Lei Tiangang answered in terror. "Calm your anger, madam. I thought that the Great Elder also had 3, but who knew?" Just as Xiao Qingtang was about to pounce over, she immediately came to her senses and looked toward Poison Saint Blackheart. She asked anxiously, "Senior Poison Saint, my husband is naturally a suspicious one, so he wasted a pellet. May you bestow us another one?" "HMPH?" A low snort sounded, causing the souls of everyone present to freeze. "There are many who doubt my abilities, so I would never take that to heart. However, after I gave you the antidote and your sons were saved, you actually have the face to dare haggle over the price. Since the lives of your sons are that cheap, 1 or 2 dying should be all right with you." The black-clad old man's voice was several times colder than before. It was obvious that he had been truly angered. Lei Qianfeng trying to haggle with him clearly touched some kind of taboo. Lei Qianfeng's expression changed yet again as sobbing sounds surfaced in Xiao Qingtang's pleas. "Senior Poison Saint, my husband doesn't understand how to appreciate favors and has offended you, but this is absolutely not my intention. I have said it myself earlier, as long as you can save them, I would not hesitate to pay any price." Lei Qianfeng flapped his lips, embarrassment all over his face. "Senior, shut up." The moment Lei Qianfeng said something, the rest of his words had been furiously stuffed back in his mouth. She quickly took out an amethyst spatial ring and said, "Senior Poison Saint, I am willing to give you 700 million profound stones for 7 pellets right now." The black-clad old man's gaze swept over, the coldness in his eyes scattered. No need. I am never afraid of anyone owing me because the ones that dare to not pay up are all dead." Happiness surfaced on Xiao Qingtang's face. "Does this mean that Senior Poison Saint is willing to give us another pellet?" "Senior Poison Saint, thank you." The black-clad old man slowly took out a dirty, black-colored wooden case from somewhere and placed it on the table to his right. When he opened the case, pellets of different colors and sizes filled the interior. Nearly half of them were the antidotes he tossed out previously. One could see that there were at least 50 of them at a single glance. The instant the wooden case opened, an irresistible attractive force led the gazes of everyone present to lock onto a certain pellet at its center. It was the biggest pellet inside the box, as large as a dragon-eye fruit. While all the other pellets within the case were all a dark color, yet it was a bright scarlet. However, what attracted their attention was obviously not its appearance, but its distinct spiritual energy, which was incredibly mysterious and mystical. Just gazing at it made them clearly feel a sense of clarity which penetrated their souls. It instantly cleared their minds, and even their gazes became distinctively clearer. This kind of aura was simply unheard of, and this kind of feeling was indescribable. They had never experienced such before in their lives. There were many pellets within the wooden case, yet this scarlet pellet's spiritual energy actually suppressed all the others. They had personally seen with their own eyes what kind of result came out of the most common pellet among them, so this scarlet pellet was undoubtedly an extremely high-grade one. It could be said to be a rare treasure. Beneath their odd gazes, the black-clad old man slowly took out a pellet and leisurely said, "As long as the price is appropriate, there is no reason for me to not do business. However, the price of this one is different from the previous 6. He extended his withered hand, but had not yet closed the black-colored wooden case, allowing the unique spiritual energy to escape. This one costs 300 million profound stones. What? 300 million? Lei Qianfeng roared, his eyeballs nearly coming out of his sockets. Oh, the eyes of the black-clad old man narrowed. It looks like the Darkia Realm King still isn't satisfied with my pricing. Then how about 500 million profound stones? Both of Lei Qianfeng's legs went soft as he said panicky, "No and no, 300 million, 300 million. Don't listen to him." Xiao Qingyang fiercely glared at Lei Qianfeng and answered with an incomparable firmness. "Since Senior Poison Saint said 500 million profound stones, then it'll be 500 million profound stones. If it is for my son's life, forget about the 500 million profound stones Senior proposed. Even if it is 1 billion profound stones, it would still be a great favor." When her voice fell, she flipped her hand. The amethyst ring flashed, and then it was pushed toward the black-clad old man. "There are a total of 1,100 million profound stones inside. Please check and accept it, Senior Poison Saint." Lei Qianfeng gaped, but not a single word came out. Behind him, from Lei Qiandu, Lei Tiangang, to all the ordinary Soul Sect disciples, all of them wore stupefied expressions. Both Lei Qiandu and Lei Tiangang lamented in their hearts. Accustomed to covering the entire Darkia realm with a single hand, their sect master was eternally tyrannical and arrogant, especially in these recent years where he became more easily irritable as the years went by. As for imposingness and how to properly respond to different people, especially experts, the sect mistress far surpassed their sect master. It was no wonder why those from the divine martial realm clearly favored Xiao Qingtang, especially the Lei Qianyu and Wu Geik mother-son pair. Heh, the black-clad old man's laugh was obviously cheerful. Without even bothering to inspect the number of profound stones inside the amethyst ring, he leisurely put it away after retrieving it. Then he gently flicked the antidote in his hand while praising, "Darkia Realm King, even though you are not worthy of much respect, you have, however, married a great wife. What a pity, what a pity." Not knowing what to say, Lei Qianfeng could only force a laugh. Upon receiving the antidote, Xiao Qingtang hurriedly arrived before Lei Guangqian and personally fed him. The antidote contained the purification powers of the sky poison pearl, so of course it would be quickly effective. A result identical to what happened with the previous 5 appeared. Before 10 breaths of time had yet to pass, the poison aura on Lei Guangqian dispersed, and he no longer let out pained moans. After Xiao Qingtang was overjoyed, she quickly pulled at the still weak Lei Guangqian before the black-clad old man. "Qianer, Senior Poison Saint, is the savior who cured you. Hurry and kowtow to thank him." Hearing Xiao Qingtang's words, Lei Guangqian quickly kneeled. Bang, bang, bang. After 3 consecutive kowtows, he said, "Junior Lei Guangqian thanks Senior Poison Saint for saving him." This woman, she wasn't simple. The black-clad old man thought as he said grimly, "No need to show me these useless things. You all got back your lives and I got my profound stones, so this business is complete. Why haven't you left yet?" Xiao Qingtang supported Lei Guangqian in getting up. "Yes, then we won't disturb Senior Poison Saint anymore. If Senior Poison Saint has some free time during his stay in the Darkia realm, please come over to visit our Soul Sect. Our Soul Sect will definitely treat you as our distinguished guest." After she finished speaking, she cast a glance at Lei Qianfeng. "Let's go." But Lei Qianfeng not immediately moved. His gaze shifted toward that scarlet pellet from time to time, and after a series of repeated hesitations, he finally turned to leave. Seeing that Lei Qianfeng was about to leave, the black-clad old man wrinkled his brows and deep disappointment flashed within the depths of his eyes. However, all of Lei Qianfeng's actions were noticed by Xiao Qingtang. She hurriedly turned around and said to the black-clad old man, "Senior Poison Saint, there is another matter I wish to ask about." Not waiting for the black-clad old man to reply, Xiao Qingtang's gaze actually landed on that scarlet pellet. I was previously surprised about the odd spiritual energy coming from this pellet. I had never felt such a power before. Since it comes from Senior Poison Saint, I would assume that it is an extraordinary object. Senior Poison Saint, can you teach me a thing or two and broaden my horizons? The black-clad elder slightly narrowed his eyes. This pellet is called the Scarlet Immortal Spirit Pellet. Refined using several thousand different kinds of poisonous insects and spirit plants, it is able to cleanse all things under heaven and detoxify myriad poisons. As he described what it was, the black-clad old man directly picked it up. Just picking it up instantly made the scattering of the spiritual energy within increase several-fold. Stunning Lei Qianfeng, and the rest as their amazement increased even further. The black-clad man continued. Once this pellet is consumed, it washes the marrow, cleanses the body, and clears all profound entrances. After it is completely refined, those below the divine sovereign realm will rarely encounter any bottlenecks, and one's body will never be infiltrated by myriad poisons within 3,000 years of consumption. The words of the black-clad old man immediately left everyone dumbstruck. Lei Qianfeng's gaze grew taut as his throat continuously wiggled. Upon seeing Lei Qianfeng's reaction, Xianxia Cultivation promptly asked, "Is Senior willing to sell such a miraculous pellet?" "Heh," the black-clad old man cackled. Since it was up for display, it is obviously up for sale. But regarding this Scarlet Immortal Spirit Pellet, I have lived for several thousand years and have only managed to refine 3 of them. I'm afraid a little lower star sect like yours cannot afford it. Once she heard this, Xianxia Cultivation immediately answered, "Even though our Soul Sect is small, our assets are vast. Senior, please quote a price. Being able to encounter Senior and such a divine pellet may yet be a kind of heaven-bestowed fate. How can I be willing to miss such an opportunity?" "Well said." The black-clad old man turned around, still holding onto the Scarlet Immortal Spirit Pellet. "Little girlie, your temperament is truly impeccable. I like it. I was originally going to sell it to those old freaks in the Middle Star realms, but since a little girlie like you asked, I'll give you this one chance, heh. Whether or not this is fated depends on the thickness of your family's wealth." The black-clad old man extended his other hand and slowly spread all 5 of his fingers. 5 billion profound stones. This astronomical number gave the Soul Sect disciples at the rear such a shock that their eyeballs almost popped right out of their sockets. Lei Qianfeng's body distinctly swayed, yet Xianxia Cultivation's reaction was much calmer than his. She answered with almost no hesitation at all, 5 billion profound stones is truly expensive. However, it is absolutely worth losing one's entire fortune for such a divine pellet. All right, Senior Poison Saint, I will buy this spirit pellet. Lei Qianfeng abruptly turned his head in her direction, but he didn't voice any words of dissent. His expression instead contained considerable excitement. The black-clad old man's eyes slightly narrowed. In his mind, however, he roared, "Holy shit! 5 billion profound stones. She's actually going to buy it without a single frown. How much money has your Soul Sect been raking in these past years? Did I ask for 2F seeking little or something? And I was even hesitating about whether or not this was too vicious." Not only did Xianxia Cultivation readily decide to buy it, afraid that this Poison Saint Blackheart would back out on it, she quickly took out another amethyst ring. After a flash of light, she pushed it toward Poison Saint Blackheart. "Senior Poison Saint, there are 5 billion profound stones in there, please check." "Ho ho ho," the black-clad old man chuckled dryly. "It seems that I have truly underestimated you all. Heh, since I have already spoken, I'll give it to you." With a throw, the Scarlet Immortal Spirit Pellet instantly drew a red arc in the air before gently landing in Xianxia Cultivation's hands. However, the selling of this pellet also comes with a rule. Xianxia Cultivation's hands lightly covered the Scarlet Immortal Spirit Pellet. "I heard that the Spirit Pellets Senior bestows always have to be consumed before him. May I ask if this is the rule you are referring to?" "Damn this woman, I don't even have to say it." The black-clad old man replied, "It's good that you know it. Now, are you the one using it, or—" His gaze shifted to Lei Qianfeng, who was standing at the side. "This brat here," Xianxia Cultivation slightly bowed. "I am a woman, so my husband is still my sky, since that's the case. This Scarlet Immortal Spirit Pellet is already something that belongs to you. It has nothing to do with me even if you toss it out." The black-clad old man interrupted her. Then he shifted his gaze toward Lei Qianfeng. "Giving it to this brat is still not too shabby. This brat has cultivated lightning attribute profound arts for several thousand years, but still managed to harm himself. He ought to have used all sorts of spirit medicine and stones to support himself for quite a few years. Yet in the end, I'm afraid it has been several tens of years since he was able to copulate." Both Lei Qianfeng and Xiao Qingtang were shocked at the same time. If he completely refines this scarlet immortal spirit pellet, his sexual vitality will be completely restored in no more than 3 months, saving a little girlie like you from bitter abstinence. Lei Qianfeng's eyes slowly widened, excitement visible in his voice. Senior, those words, are they true? HMPH, the black-clad old man snorted coldly. How can I possibly make irresponsible remarks as if I were a useless brat like you? As the Darkia realm's great realm king, even though he was continuously denounced to be a brat by this poisoned Saint Blackheart, he didn't feel dissatisfied at all. All he felt was an uncontrollable excitement. The power of lightning-based profound arts were immense, but they could easily devour oneself. After he had his youngest son, Lei Guangmo, it grew harder to suppress his hidden injuries. When it completely broke out, he had completely lost the virility in his nether regions. To a man, this was undoubtedly the same as losing their dignity, and he was even the stately Darkia realm king, master of the Soul Sect. It was without question that he was no longer able to lift his head in front of Xiao Qingtang. Even if she scolded him, he had almost never answered back. But outside, it was because of this reason that he became more and more prone to rage. After having Lei Guangmo, he no longer ventured out, nor had he sought another concubine. The occasional rumor would also flutter within the winds of Darkia realm, further making him feel angered and humiliated. Now, however, the words poisoned Saint Blackheart had said, after publicly revealing his humiliating scar, sounded like music from the heavens. No, no, Lei Qianfeng said hurriedly. I was absolutely not questioning you, Senior. Senior's poison arts go beyond the heavens, and your perception is almighty. I was previously seeing without eyes to not be able to detect an expert like you. All I feel now is endless respect. If everything goes as Senior says, Senior will become my great benefactor. HMPH, stop spouting nonsense and consume it already, Poison Saint Blackheart said impatiently. Lei Qianfeng quickly took the scarlet immortal spirit pellet from Xiao Qingtang's hands, took a deep breath, and then swallowed it. An unimaginably pure spiritual energy instantly spread through his entire body. It was as if countless gusts of cool wind from an ancient forest had brushed through every corner of his body. His spirit sense, sight, hearing, and sense of smell all seemed to have awakened. He felt as if his entire body underwent a rebirth. Lei Qianfeng's face revealed an intoxicated look as he uncontrollably blurted, "It truly is a divine pellet. You'll find out whether or not it is a divine pellet after you completely refine it." A dark and sly light flashed past the black-clad man's eyes after seeing that Lei Qianfeng had consumed the scarlet immortal spirit pellet. Just looking at Lei Qianfeng's expression revealed that the starlit immortal spirit pellet had wondrous effects. This was merely after he had swallowed it too. He had yet to refine it. Xiao Qingtang quickly bowed. "We will never forget Senior's favor to us. HMPH, we were only doing business. Why the need for the false particulars?" The black-clad man turned around. "Now that our transaction is complete, we can go our separate ways. Don't blame me for not reminding you. All sorts of colorless, tasteless, and formless poisons abound here. If you don't leave soon, I'm afraid you won't even be able to leave once the poisonous air enters your body." The Soul Sect crowd was shocked, and they immediately held their breaths while secretly condensing profound energy to protect themselves. Xiao Qingtang said, "Since that's the case, we will no longer disturb Senior. We will leave right now. Rest assured, Senior, we won't disclose a single word about you being in the Darkia realm." "Heh, so what if it gets out? All that means is a few more insects seeking death." The black-clad old man laughed evilly amidst his disdain. Every one of his words sent chills throughout one's body. Even the pace at which they left had unconsciously sped up. Soul Sect's members quickly left, completely different from the lifeless mood they had on arrival. They left in high spirits since the haze brought by Ling Yun had been swept away. They continuously thanked the poisoned Saint Blackheart that had taken more than 6 billion profound stones, feeling as though he was a heaven-sent fortune. After confirming that they had traveled quite the distance, the black-clad old man took in a deep breath, and all the profound energy on his body exploded outward. His bluish-black cloak and disguise immediately broke apart to cover the ground. Revealing his true form, it was shockingly Yun-Chi. His face was extremely unsightly, as cold sweat completely drenched his back. Confronting the couple, along with the Soul Sect's hall masters, great elders, and other peak experts, every breath gave him unimaginable pressure. If he had exposed the slightest flaw, the consequence would have been certain death. He heavily sat down on the ground, panting loudly in huge breaths. It was only after he gasped more than a dozen times that he waved both arms, instantly clearing the drifting black energy on his body and the stone room. The black energy was actually darkness profound energy released by the devil origin orb in his body. The coldness felt within the room, as well as the heart-thumping eerie feeling, came from the combination of darkness profound energy and ice profound energy. Not daring to stay any longer, he randomly changed into a set of clothes before quickly fleeing in the direction opposite Lei Qianfeng and his party. With his profound strength, wanting to kill Lei Qianfeng was impossible. However, he had something on him that was able to kill Lei Qianfeng, which was the horned dragon's poison. The medicine he named the Scarlet Immortal Spirit Pellet was the key point in his long-term scheme. From the spreading of the poison Saint Backheart news, to killing Lei Guangmo by poison, to poisoning his 6 other sons, to forcing Lei Qianfeng to find poison Saint Blackheart. All that was to make him swallow the Scarlet Immortal Spirit Pellet, just so he could easily pull a fast one on him. This was because its outer layer was the Sky Poison Pearl's spiritual energy, and its interior was the horned dragon poison. However, he had nearly failed to execute this key point. Lei Qianfeng was obviously attracted to it and desired it, but he had not acted. Fortunately, Xiao Qingtang gave him a perfect supportive attack. Furthermore, regardless if it was the antidote or the Scarlet Immortal Spirit Pellet, they paid a huge amount of profound stones. All of that was provided by Xiao Qingtang and not Lei Qianfeng. This allowed Yun Qi to clearly see one thing. Xiao Qingtang's status appeared to be even higher than Lei Qianfeng's. At the very least, she was in control of Soul Sect's economic funds. Since Lei Qianfeng was a divine king, he obviously was not able to hide too much horned dragon poison inside the Scarlet Immortal Spirit Pellet. Otherwise, its poison aura would easily be exposed. As such, if Lei Qianfeng used all his strength to dispel the poison, there was a huge probability that he wouldn't die from the poison. Though all this could be considered a perfect accomplishment, with the hardships Yun Qi had to suffer through, how could he be willing to leave it at that? What he was going to do next was make trouble one after another. Lei Qianfeng, just you wait. With that said, Yun Qi's figure quickly disappeared into the distant horizon. His 6 sons' complexions had basically returned to normal already. Although they had lost a bit of vitality, they looked fine for the most part. They were expected to recover after a period of recuperation. The oppressive cloud that had hung above Soul Sect for the longest time finally loosened up a lot. Lei Qianfeng felt a lot more relaxed, but for some reason he couldn't shake the vague feeling that something was wrong, even though he couldn't figure out what was nagging him. He didn't have the time to consider his instinct carefully, however. Right now, his first priority was of course to refine the divine pellet he got from poison Saint Blackheart. No cultivation bottlenecks until divine sovereign realm and 3,000 years of immunity to poison. A medicine with either of these effects alone likely didn't exist in the divine martial realm, much less one that could cure his erectile dysfunction. Although he had spent an astronomical sum of 5 billion profound stones to purchase this pellet, he didn't feel sorry in the least. In fact, he felt as if he was blessed by the heavens themselves. This king shall be refining this divine pellet with all his might for a while. Continue the investigation of Ling Yun. No one is to disturb this king unless something big happens. Lei Qianfeng began concentrating on refining this divine pellet after he laid down the instruction. The refinement of a pellet was a long and risky process, and a high-level pellet even more so. That was why he needed a quiet and safe environment to refine this pellet. Although Lei Qianfeng had consumed the high-level pellet right before poison Saint Blackheart's eyes, he didn't dare to refine it before he returned to the sect. His surroundings were quiet. Calming his breathing and his excitement, Lei Qianfeng started circulating his profound energy carefully and gathering it around the Scarlet Immortal Spirit Pellet. At first, he was going to probe the pill carefully and direct its energy with his profound energy. But to his complete surprise, the supposedly high-level pellet of vast amounts of substances actually shattered completely upon traction. An incredibly refined energy swiftly spread throughout his body and made him feel as comfortable as taking a bath in a cool spring. However, the soothing feeling only lasted for a few breaths' time before it vanished entirely. Then Lei Qianfeng's face twisted as he abruptly opened his eyes. Using the profound energy he used as the pulling power, a terrifying aura instantly spread throughout his whole body. like a volcano that had suddenly erupted and spat countless terrifying giant flame devils out of its mouth at once. Moreover, he was distinctly familiar with this aura. It was none other than the terrifying poison that had plagued his 7 sons. The intensity of this poison was hundreds of times stronger than the poison in all 7 of his sons put together. Worse, it had erupted inside his own body. Lei Qianfeng let out an angry roar and caused the whole inner sanctum to collapse. However, his furious discharge of profound energy actually caused the horned dragon poison inside his body to burst open like a flood. Lei Qianfeng's face twisted again as he hastily steadied his aura, withdrew all of his profound energy, and suppressed the poison that was exploding inside his own body. Sect Master! The huge commotion immediately attracted everyone's attention. When Lei Tiangang and Lei Qiandu walked closer and saw the unnatural colors on Lei Qianfeng's face, they immediately sensed an extremely high concentration of poison from inside their sect master's body. They immediately exclaimed with shock, "What's going on, Sect Master? It's Ling Yun, that poison Saint Blackheart, is Ling Yun." Arg! He was just speaking and leaking his aura slightly, but the terrible poison had immediately caused havoc inside his body. It was only when the poison was erupting in his own body that he realized just how deadly it was. He immediately concentrated all of his mind and energy together, but he couldn't stop every muscle in his body from writhing madly. His complexion occasionally turned white or red, and cold sweat poured down his body like rain, even as it quickly evaporated into scorching steam. That pellet contains that terrible poison. How could Lei Tiangang and Lei Qiandu not realize what Lei Qianfeng meant when they saw his tormented expression? Ling Yun had poisoned Lei Guangmo to death and poisoned the rest of Lei Qianfeng's sons as well. Given no other choice, he was forced to find the poisoned Saint Blackheart that just happened to appear in Darkia realm. As it turned out, Ling Yun's target wasn't Lei Qianfeng's sons at all. He was actually targeting Lei Qianfeng himself. When Lei Tiangang and Lei Qianfeng looked at each other, they could see deep fear and shock in each other's eyes. That poisoned Saint Blackheart was actually Ling Yun. Despite witnessing with their own eyes that Lei Qianfeng was being tormented by the deadly poison, they couldn't find it in themselves to believe this for a very, very long time. His bizarre and unpredictable air, his imposing aura, his unbearable appearance, his terrifying ability to cure a poison with a casual flick of the hand, his strangely intimidating behavior and conduct, and his disgustingly black heart. They couldn't think of any flaws in his disguise. They couldn't see any flaws in his disguise. Even that scarlet immortal spirit pellet was purchased by Lei Qianfeng and Xiao Qingtang of their own volition. And now poisoned Saint Blackheart turned out to be a disguised Ling Yun. They would rather believe that poisoned Saint Blackheart was real, but he was unfortunately an accomplice of Ling Yun's. A while later, Lei Qianfeng's complexion finally recovered a little. While holding his breath, he said slowly and softly, "I should be able to suppress this poison, Qiandu. You will protect me for several days." Lei Qiandu and Lei Tiangang relaxed some when they heard this, and Lei Tiangang swiftly waved a hand for everyone to clear out. Judging by Lei Qianfeng's appearance, the detoxification process would be arduous even if he successfully flushed the poison from his body. Moreover, Lei Qianfeng absolutely mustn't move his profound energy carelessly or even grow too emotional during this time. Sect Master, that despicable Ling Yun had to cure the 6 young masters first in order to entrap you. But he'll never imagine that your profound energy is so powerful that even this deadly poison cannot harm you. So although you've fallen for his trap, this outcome is actually a good thing. That's why you don't have to feel angry. Just focus on dispelling the poison, and in a few days Ling Yun is likely the one who will throw up blood in anger once you're safe. Tiangang is right. Lei Qiandu also consoled him before waving. Tiangang, the sect master will absolutely be safe with me by his side, so I leave the outside matters to you. You absolutely must protect the young masters from assassination. Lei Tiangang nodded and started to leave the place. It was at this moment impossibly insolent laughter cut through the air. Ha 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 ha. The laughter had come from a faraway direction at least several hundred kilometers away from this place, but it was so loud that it rumbled like thunder. Lei Qianfeng, I am your senior poison saint and your granddaddy Ling Yun. I believe that you must have received the great gift I sent you, haven't you? Wanton, disdainful taunting. The voice was empowered by all of Yun Qi's profound energy, so it spread throughout every corner of Soul Sect despite coming from several hundred kilometers away. Ling Yun, Lei Tiangang and Lei Qiandu abruptly jumped up to their feet. Lei Qianfeng swayed for an instant as his complexion turned slightly pale. "Tiangang, find where that voice is coming from and capture that bastard yourself," Lei Qiandu roared. Lei Tiangang was already flying towards the west before he finished his sentence. "Lei Qianfeng, the great realm king of Darkia realm, eh? And here I thought you were almighty or something, but in the end you're nothing but that a foolish pig. You are a retard who was fooled by a nameless junior like me into spending 6 billion profound stones to buy a poison for yourself. That's a total steal, am I right? Ha 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 ha. Lei Qianfeng trembled all over as his eyebrows bulged visibly above his eyes. His face instantly turned so distorted that it could be mistaken for an evil spirit's. "Sect Master, he's obviously trying to enrage you. Seal off your hearing now and don't fall for his trap," Lei Qiandu hurriedly advised. "Oh right, there's one thing I forgot to remind you about." It seemed that Ling Yun had detected Lei Tiangang's approach, so although his voice grew more and more distant, the ridicule in his tone only grew stronger. "The antidotes your 6 sons ate have the exact same ingredients as yours, so have fun enjoying this great gift you spent 6 billion to trade for, ha 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 ha." The wanton, wild laughter turned distant and vanished very soon after. Then a panicked voice entered the inner sanctum. "Sect Master, it's terrible." A Soul Sect disciple was anxiously flying in their direction. Although his person was still very far away, his voice had reached them first. "All 6 young masters have suddenly succumbed to the poison. The sect mistress is." "Get out now!" Lei Qiandu's complexion changed sharply. He let out a loud roar, swung his arms, and sent that Soul Sect disciple flying away with a heavy thud. There was no telling if the latter was still alive after the strike. "Sect Master, you mustn't think of anything at this point. You mustn't allow your anger to overcome you." Lei Qiandu did his best to console Lei Qianfeng, but he himself was feeling as cold as ice. A moment earlier he had thought that Ling Yun had cured all 6 of Lei Qianfeng's sons to bait them into a trap, but he never imagined that. Lei Qianfeng closed his eyes tightly while trembling all over. His facial muscles were spasming rapidly, and his skin color had turned completely red. The deadly poison that he barely managed to suppress was now running all over his body in a nearly unstoppable fashion, because he had lost control over his fury and hate. And by the time Lei Qiandu's voice reached him, a trail of scarlet-black blood was already dripping down from the corner of his mouth. Yun Qi had learned about the horned dragon's poison since the day he had first encountered Mu Bingyun. Today, he could say that he knew it quite well. He could only inject a very small amount of poison into the pellet to avoid detection, so Yun Qi didn't think that it was enough to poison Lei Qianfeng to death. But that was only if Lei Qianfeng had suppressed, quelled, and dispelled the poison after it turned active. Otherwise, if the horned dragon poison seeped deep enough into his body, then Lei Qianfeng was dead no matter how powerful he was. Despite being at divine sovereign realm, Mu Bingyun failed to force out the horned dragon's poison from her body in time because she was severely injured when she was poisoned. Although her divine sovereign level physique had preserved her life temporarily, the horned dragon poison had seeped into her life vein and soul. Even after she had regained her strength and obtained the combined power of Mu Xunian and the entire divine Ice Phoenix sect, they were still unable to save her. So how could a mere divine King Lei Qianfeng possibly resist the horned dragon poison? Every word Yun Qi said cut at Lei Qianfeng's heart and soul. His final sentence even induced so much fury that his heart's blood literally flowed backwards, a condition that he wasn't able to quell even after several full hours had passed. A day later, not only did he fail to suppress the deadly poison, it even grew stronger and stronger. The next day, when Lei Qianfeng finally calmed down a little and felt slightly more stable, Yun Qi's thunderous, full-powered voice rang again from the south. "Lei Qianfeng, your granddaddy Ling Yun is here. I thought you wanted to cut my corpse into 10,000 pieces, so I'm delivering myself to you right now. Come on over or I'm calling you my grandson." "Ah, pooh. What am I talking about? Taking in a stupid pig like you as my grandson would only humiliate me. I guess you're not just a stupid pig, but also a cowardly ostrich. Oh, let me tell you some good news that you're probably not aware of. All 6 of your sons are already dead, and now a bunch of people are dealing with the funeral arrangements. Not only did you kill your sons with your own hands, you didn't even move an inch from your butt to attend their funerals. What a pitiful and tragic dad you are." Lei Qianfeng swayed. After a long period of calmness, his body began to shake intensely once more. The aura around him grew more and more chaotic. "Sect Master, seal off your hearing. You absolutely mustn't fall for his trap," Lei Qiandu said in shock and terror. Lei Qianfeng neither opened his eyes nor uttered a word. However, both sides of his mouth began bleeding and his body didn't stop trembling after a whole hour had passed. The third day. Lei Qianfeng, you're the Darkia Realm King, but you are a scourge upon its denizens. Have massacred countless innocent lives and exterminated so many families that the numbers are literally uncountable. You've committed so much evil that even the heavens have heard of it, and you are hated by both man and God. You're not only a shame to the Darkia Realm, you're even a shame to your own ancestors. Not only will I announce to all of Darkia Realm your scandalous acts, I'll even make sure to inform the eternal Heaven Realm so that you'll be disdained by all living beings. If you still have a bit of shame inside you, then take your own life right now. You are a shame on the human race itself. The fourth day. Congratulations, Lei Qianfeng. Another one of your sons has died today. Do you know how happy the entire Darkia Realm is after I did all I could to spread this news throughout the world? Not only are your sons as stupid as you are, their ugly looks are practically a mirror of yours. It was only a matter of time before they'd be struck by heavenly thunder even if I didn't scrub those filth from the surface of the Darkia Realm. As for you, the only fate you deserve it to die sunless. The fifth day. The sixth day. Ever since Lei Qianfeng was poisoned, Xianxia would appear around Soul Sect regularly every day. However, he never appeared at the same direction or distance, and he was always able to avoid the Soul Sect's watchers perfectly. Sometimes he would appear once or twice. Sometimes he would appear 3 or 4 times. Every time he appeared, he would send his voice trembling through the air before vanishing in barely a few breaths' time. Soul Sect couldn't even find his shadow, despite their efforts to hunt him down, and they screamed in frustration and failure every time. Xianxia had also fed all 6 of Lei Qianfeng's sons with extreme malice. He had purposely injected different dosages of horned dragon poison into each of the 6 antidotes. Therefore, Lei Qianfeng's sons died at different times, even though their poison had activated in unison. The outcome was as clear as day. His 6 sons died to the horned dragon's poison in orderly succession. Every day or two, one of his sons would die, and they never died on the same day. On the 10th day, his last son ultimately succumbed to the poison. Lei Qianfeng, your granddaddy Ling Yun is back. As usual, the daily broadcast of Xianxia's voice resounded throughout the entire Soul Sect like a nightmare. First, I would like to congratulate you for finally being sunless. Hehe, Tusk, you truly are the greatest ostrich ever to exist in the history of Darkia Realm. Your sons have died one after another at my hands until you're literally sunless, but not only did you not come out and fight me to your death, you did not even let out a fart throughout this whole week. I must say that I am absolutely impressed, ha 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 ha. Oh right, the entire Darkia Realm now knows that you're a pitifully impotent and sunless worm. Seriously, what a pitiful man you are. But your wives are even more pitiable than you are. To think that they'll have to live in abstinence with trash like you for the rest of their lives, how pitiable. Oh no, that's not right. Maybe your wives have already cuckolded you tens or hundreds of times starting a long time ago. It's only natural for them to act this way, considering that their husband is impotent, ha 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 ha. What he said was humiliating words that no man could possibly endure. They resounded throughout Soul Sect clearly and stupefied everyone within. If Lei Qianfeng could have kept his calm, he could have completely forced out the small amount of deadly poison in his body in just 5 to 6 days. But literally 10 days had passed by already, and not only had Lei Qianfeng failed to force out the poison, but his condition was even growing worse. His complexion was as red as blood, and his entire body looked like burned iron. He shuddered as heavy pants went in and out of his mouth and nostrils. He abruptly opened his eyes and flew to the sky amidst Xianxia's mad laughter. The underground palace he had spent 10 days in seclusion abruptly crumbled as a voice filled with infinite hatred and pain tore through the sky of Soul Sect like the roar of a despairing beast. Ling Yun, I will tear you into a million yuarg, PFFFT. As he lost control of both his anger and his profound energy, the deadly poison within his body instantly broke free and went on a rampage. Lei Qianfeng's liver and spleen shattered as he sprayed out a mouthful of blood. Then his eyes turned dark as he collapsed fiercely from the sky. Sect Master! Lei Qiandu hastily charged out and caught Lei Qianfeng in his hands. However, he nearly tossed him away the instant his arms touched Lei Qianfeng. Right now, Lei Qianfeng's eyes were completely bloodshot. Although they were wide open, the sect master was completely unconscious. His body was burning like fire, and the aura of the poison darting all across his body was stronger than even his profound energy. Far away to the north of Soul Sect, Xianxia slowly vanished into thin air. He muttered softly, "Almost there, 2 or 3 more times and he should drop into hell." This month was like a never-ending abyss of a nightmare for the Black Soul Sect. Within just a month's time, countless numbers of their best and brightest disciples had died. They lost half their elders, and all of Lei Qianfeng's sons were killed by poison. The entire sect was as if ashes were spread all over their faces. They had lost all their dignity and reputation. Their future looked bleak. Just last night, the poison had completely erupted within Lei Qianfeng. The entire sect was on lockdown and the atmosphere was extremely heavy. All this was thanks to one person. The name Ling Yun was like a devil's mark, deeply branded into each and every Soul Sect member's consciousness. Every time they thought of this name, they couldn't help but shudder. Today, the weather was absolutely lovely. Xianxia slowly opened his eyes. Ever since he had started engaging the Soul Sect in that back and forth, he had neglected his regular training. After forcing Lei Qianfeng to his death, he should soon leave the Darkia realm to go look for the divine 9-star Buddha Jade and the immortal Emperor Grass. He would have to use all his might to train as well. The date of the profound God convention was getting closer and closer. He stood up and looked in the direction of the Soul Sect. His lips curled into a cold smile. It was time to mess with Lei Qianfeng once more. Lei Qianfeng's profound strength had suddenly erupted the night before, and he had lost control of himself, shouting and screaming before collapsing. This was a result of the poison acting up, and was naturally what Xianxia wanted to see the most. This was all within his calculations. This wasn't a matter of Lei Qianfeng's tolerance being weak. It was thanks to the constant strings of defeat, the insults, his son's deaths, he himself being poisoned, and finally the news of the entire matter being broadcasted to the public, let alone Lei Qianfeng. Even a living Buddha would die from the anger. Although Xianxia's means leaned on the side of despicable, he was but one man. His profound strength was in the divine soul realm. Against the huge Soul Sect, he could only vent his anger through such means. Even though his means were such, he was the only one who could do it. It was right to say that Lei Qianfeng's state was exacerbated thoroughly by him. Xianxia rose into the air and sped in the direction of the Soul Sect. After last night, the ancient horned dragon's poison in Lei Qianfeng had flared up to a large degree. In about 2 or 3 more days, if Lei Qianfeng wasn't able to completely focus on suppressing the poison would eventually run its course, and he would die without a doubt. After entering the Black Soul Mountain range, Xianxia started to descend. He passed through the eastern area of the range before slowing down. Today's mountain range wasn't as quiet as before. All sorts of profound beast roars sounded from every corner of the range as the occasional hawk flew in the sky. Xianxia's brows both knitted. Were there no Soul Sect disciples guarding the mountain today? Unless yesterday's poison outbreak, was Lei Qianfeng already going to die? That can't be it, can it? Without letting down his guard, Xianxia continued onward. En route, he didn't encounter any presence or auras of Soul Sect disciples. He looked in the direction of the Soul Sect. His eyebrows twitched violently following his line of sight. He came to halt. This sort of feeling. Just as he was looking in the direction of the Soul Sect, he felt a strong sense of danger strike him. It disappeared as soon as he stopped. A mysterious sense of unease started rising within him. Xianxia frowned. Every time he neared the Soul Sect, he'd always be surrounded by danger. If he was just a little bit careless, he would have died 9 times over, but this time, the feeling he had was even stronger than previously. It was as if the opponent was invincible and unfathomable. If he continued to get close, it felt as if he would face an invincible tribulation. Xianxia didn't dare second-guess the warning that was coming from his soul. He stood still, both eyes fixed in the direction of the Soul Sect, not moving for quite a while. Lei Qianfeng had already been pushed to the brink last night. With just a little more of a nudge, he'd definitely fall into death's abyss. However, if he was given the chance for a breather, all of Xianxia's previous efforts would have been wasted. Furthermore, it was impossible for him to have another chance at this. Just as he was feeling suspicious, he suddenly felt a burst of profound energy. He held up his sound transmission jade and heard Jai Ruyan's panicked voice on the other end. "Sir Ling Yun, where are you now? Do not go near the Soul Sect at all costs. An incredible big shot arrived at the Soul Sect last night." "Xianxia, Although we have yet to confirm who it is based on the movements of the Soul Sect, it's highly possible that it's someone from the divine martial realm. Sir Ling Yun must not go near the Soul Sect. It'd be best if you change your features and stay as far away as possible, or you could come to the Black Feather Merchant Guild for the time being. The Soul Sect has never suspected us having any relations. This place should be safe. We will get to investigating who that person that has arrived is. Ling Yun's face grew solemn. After a short period of pondering, he retreated a few steps, then turned around and left. That sudden sense of danger he felt was indeed not without reason. The divine martial realm, these were people from an upper star realm, existences he could definitely not afford to offend. Yun Qi left the Black Soul Mountain Range. Shortly thereafter he arrived in Xianxia City and entered the Black Feather Merchant Guild. Sir Ling Yun! Ling Yun had just arrived. A girl in a purple silk dress hurriedly rushed over. She was charming and elegant. Her manner and posture were beautiful, and the eyes beneath her shapely brows radiated a gentle brightness. Her long hair was like the clouds, worn in a light purple band. She moved gracefully like that of nobility. It was Jai Ruyan. Although they constantly spoke, Yun Qi had not met her during this period. Jai Ruyan wasn't alone. By her side was a familiar middle-aged man. It was Mr. Jai whom he had met when he first entered the Black Feather Merchant Guild. He was also Jai Ruyan's father, the one who held the highest position in the Black Feather Merchant Guild. His demeanor was different from the initial cold impression Yun Qi had of him. When he saw Yun Qi, Mr. Jai walked steadily towards him step by step, his face unable to hide his excitement. He then respectfully knelt down. "Sir Ling Yun, I am unable to repay you for all that you've done for the Black Feather Merchant Guild. Please accept my humble greetings." Yun Qi's expression didn't change. "Mr. Jai, you don't have to do this. I dealt with the Soul Sect as I have a personal vendetta against them. It has nothing to do with the Black Feather Merchant Guild. Instead, it could be said that Miss Ruyan has helped me even more. As of now, I've used every means available to me. If the Soul Sect still doesn't crumble, your guild will still be under its thumb in the future." "No," Mr. Jai shook his head. "The Black Feather is a large family-run business, yet it fell into the claws of the Soul Sect. All these years, I've never slept soundly. My heart was in constant turmoil, yet I was absolutely helpless. Leaving everything else aside, just what you've done has helped us vent. This is enough to last us a lifetime." "Not only that," Jai Ruyan slightly smiled. "The Soul Sect has lost every bit of its reputation. After losing all of his sons, Lei Qianfeng no longer has an heir. After Lei Qianfeng, the Soul Sect will no longer have relations to the divine martial realm where marital relations are concerned. There will be chaos within the sect once it comes to a fight for power. Perhaps that's the time when the Black Feather Merchant Guild will finally be able to escape its cage. All of this is thanks to Sir Ling Yun." Mr. Jai kept his eyes on Yun Qi. He could not help but sigh. "Sir Ling Yun, you're all alone, yet you've managed to bring Soul Sect, a huge powerhouse, to its knees. If I didn't see it with my own eyes and hear it with my own ears, perhaps even in my dreams, I wouldn't dare to believe it. Ruyan said that you were born in the lower realms, but you're the most spectacular man of the young generation that I've ever seen. No one can compare to you, Sir Ling Yun." Yun Qi chuckled. "Mr. Jai, you're exaggerating. Sir Ling Yun, news about the Soul Sect has arrived." Jai Ruyan's face turned serious. "It's indeed people from the divine martial realm. They should have arrived at the Soul Sect last night. If our sources are not wrong, there's 2 of them." "Just 2 of them?" Yun Qi's brows twitched. "Sir Ling Yun, you must not take this lightly. These 2 aren't like the usual messengers that come from the divine martial realm. It's actually Wu Gaik." "Wu Gaik?" Yun Qi raised his brows. 1 month ago, Jai Ruyan had mentioned this name. Wu Gaik was the son of the great realm king of the divine martial realm. He was the son of the great realm king Wu Sanzan and the sister of Lei Qianfeng, Lei Qianyu. He was initially supposed to be of ordinary status, as he was born of a lowly concubine. However, his growth was exponential and his talent shocking. His position grew by leaps and bounds in the divine martial realm. He was Lei Qianfeng's nephew. At the same time, he was the biggest backer of the Black Soul Divine Sect. The son of a great realm king of an upper star realm, just this status was enough to scare anyone in the entire Xianxia realm into submission. Wu Gaik's talent is monstrous. After displaying his talent, he received the personal acknowledgement and guidance of Wu Sanzan. He was only 30 years of age, but he was shockingly in the divine spirit realm. In this profound god convention, he will surely blow everyone away. Furthermore, being the prince of the divine martial realm, it is certain that his bodyguard will be a frightening existence, and is most likely a divine sovereign. Yun Qi was speechless for quite a while. The divine tribulation realm was his greatest goal right now, but this Wu Geik, who was barely 10 years older than him, had already stepped into the divine spirit realm. This was the most frightening thing about the upper star realms. There was only one other person accompanying him, and if it was a divine sovereign realm expert who was on the same level as Mu Bingyun, trying to get close to the Soul Sect once more would be plain suicide. If there was a divine sovereign expert helping, the poison in Lei Qianfeng's body would most likely be detoxified within days. Sir Ling Yun, you must not go anywhere near the Soul Sect. You can stay here during this period of time. Once the two of them leave and we get wind of it, we will make arrangements to send you to the heavenly mystery realm. Jai Ruyan continued with the utmost of sincerity. You're the benefactor of our Black Feather Merchant Guild. We will definitely not harm you. Should you have any request to make of us, we'll make the utmost effort to fulfill it. Yun Qi took in a deep breath, thinking back to how he had to come up with so many machinations, taking big risks every step of the way just to poison Lei Qianfeng, and now all his efforts would go to waste. He felt extremely unreconciled right now. All right, Yun Qi let out a deep breath. I'll have to trouble all of you. Right now I'll need a quiet spot to cultivate. The atmosphere in the Black Soul Divine Sect was very heavy. All was quiet in the sect. The disciples were in their guarding positions. The hall masters and elders were all at the front, bowing, their expressions full of fear. All of the branch sect masters had also arrived, standing in their positions after rushing over throughout the night. They were obviously within the walls of their own sect, but from the disciples to elders, all of them found it difficult to breathe, and no one dared utter a single word. Their frightened expressions made them look as if they were welcoming a god into their world. Lei Qianfeng sat in the main hall, the profound energy in his body a complete mess. Behind him was a black-garbed, middle-aged man whose expression was icy. His palm was firmly pressed against Lei Qianfeng's back. This scene had already been going on for a few hours. Finally, Lei Qianfeng opened his eyes and with a wag, he spat out a large mouthful of blood. As the blood sprayed outwards and landed, it melted the profound stones beneath it. Lei Qianfeng fell onto the ground, taking in deep gasps of air. As the blood left his mouth, his complexion grew much better. He quickly rose to his feet and gave a deep bow to the middle-aged man in black, reverently thanking him. I, Lei Qianfeng, will never forget Sir Wu's life-saving grace. The man whom Lei Qianfeng respectfully greeted as Sir Wu didn't even bother looking at him. He frowned and said, "What a powerful poison." Luckily, the amount was minuscule and the time period was short. If not, even the great firmament deity wouldn't be able to save you. So you're saying everything is fine now? A gentle and relaxed voice slowly traveled over. At the window, a young man with his hands behind his back had his back faced towards them. He was in white attire that contained blue patterns. His hair reached his waist. Although one couldn't see his face, he had an air of nobility around him which somewhat made one only dare to look at his shadow and not directly at him. The black-garbed middle-aged man turned around, young master. Although the poison within Sect Master Lei is very powerful. Although he seems to be fine now, in order to fully detoxify him, we will need quite a few more days. Oh, the young man's voice revealed a trace of astonishment. He languidly turned around, revealing beautiful features. His face looked like it was carved from jade. Uncle, looks like I came at the right time. If we had come just a few days later, I'm afraid I'd be here to visit your corpse instead. Lei Qianfeng, uncle. His tone and demeanor were completely opposite of how one would treat a senior, completely devoid of respect. His gaze was as if he were looking at a lowly and pathetic creature. As for Lei Qianfeng, he didn't have a single ounce of anger within him. He hurriedly replied, Yes, if not for you coming, I'm afraid this life of mine would be gone. It's just a pity about more and the rest." Thinking about his 7 sons who had died horribly, Lei Qianfeng's entire body stiffened. He clenched both fists so tight they wouldn't stop shaking. "Aunt has already told me about the entire matter last night." Wu Geik narrowed his eyes. "I heard from Aunt that all of this was done by someone called Ling Yun. He not only poisoned all your sons, he also managed to kill over 100,000 of your best disciples, including 4 elders as well. He even caused you to nearly lose your life, yet none of you have even managed to catch a little bit of his tail." As he spoke, his gaze turned towards Xianxia Cultivation, who was at the side. His gaze upon Xiao Qingtang was much gentler than when he was looking at Lei Qianfeng. With regards to Yun Qi, Lei Qianfeng felt all sorts of extreme emotions. Pain, anger, hatred, humiliation. All of these had accumulated into a deep fear which caused him to tremble. His voice grew a little hoarse. Ling Yun, he's simply the devil. Devil? Wu Geik scoffed. Heh, oh uncle, if not for Aunt telling me herself, I would never have believed a word of it. Although my opinion of you is that you're not worthy of Aunt, I never would have thought that you'd be such piece of trash. As your nephew, I feel that I've lost all face. Lei Qianfeng's looked shocked. He didn't dare argue, and after a while he lowered his head. You're right, I'm indeed useless, but as long as I'm still alive, I will make sure that Ling Yun's body will be minced into 1,000 pieces and I will grind his bones to dust. Is that so? Wu Geik slowly stepped closer, his gaze suddenly becoming more solemn. Before you mince that Ling Yun, you had better look after yourself first. What happened to the matter regarding the royal wood spirit? Because of this matter, royal father is extremely angry. You had better give a proper account or else the consequences are not something that you can easily bear. What would come eventually came. Lei Qianfeng's entire body shook as he hurriedly replied, the matter regarding the royal wood spirit is not false. When we managed to catch that royal wood spirit, we were about to immediately gift him to your royal father. However, due to a moment of carelessness, Ling Yun snatched the royal wood spirit away. How did that Ling Yun know it was a royal wood spirit? Wu Geik immediately asked. No, Ling Yun snatched it away not because it was a royal wood spirit, but because that royal wood spirit was hidden in a community outside Darkia City. He knew those wood spirits from earlier. That's why he snatched it away from us when we captured it. We never thought that there would be someone with enough gall to oppose us, and so we lost the royal wood spirit in a moment of carelessness. After that, we finally found that community of wood spirits and massacred all of them, but we never found that royal wood spirit. The reason for Ling Yun seeking vengeance upon us was due to this reason. Is that so? Wu Geik laughed coldly, as if he didn't believe what Lei Qianfeng said. Geik, Xiao Qingtang softly said, Uncle isn't lying to you, everything I said is true. If we hadn't captured that royal wood spirit, I wouldn't have urgently told your mother. It's just that we never would have thought, Sai. Wu Geik's expression softened a little. He nodded his head. Since it's Aunt's words, then Geik will believe what you say. As he turned his eyes to Lei Qianfeng, his gaze hardened once more. However, whether royal father will believe it or not is not up to me to decide. Leaving the issue of the royal wood spirit aside, these few years, your tributes of wood spirit orbs and cultivation incubators have become fewer and fewer. If we add on this current issue to those, it'd be hard for my royal father not to be incensed. Lei Qianfeng's expression changed as he started trembling all over. In the Darkia realm, he was a great realm king that could cover the sky with one hand, but in front of the divine martial realm and its denizens. He was no different from an insignificant bug. The reason why the Soul Sect was so strong today was all thanks to them riding on the coattails of the divine martial realm. Anyone else in the divine martial realm could get angry, but this time, it was the great realm king, in his anger, if he wanted to kill Lei Qianfeng, who was only a divine king. Even if it were the entire Soul Sect, it would be as easy as blowing on dust. He wouldn't even care that Lei Qianfeng was his son's uncle. Geik, it isn't that your uncle is slow, it's that the wood spirits are getting fewer in number these years. High-quality cultivation furnaces are even more difficult to find. Sighed Geik, when you go back, please put in a few words for me, especially with regards to the royal wood spirit. Even if I had 1,000 guts, I would never dare to lie to your royal father. HMPH? Wu Geik snorted. Fewer and fewer, really. Or is it because you want a solely lord over Darkia, sowing seeds and creating handles over different powers by selling a portion of your wood spirit orb tribute to others? Lei Qianfeng lifted his head, his pupils shrinking in horror. Geik, Xiao Qingtang spoke. This matter isn't entirely your uncle's fault. If I wasn't too impulsive, this entire royal wood spirit issue wouldn't have triggered your royal father's anger. Your royal father usually dotes on you, and only you can save your uncle now. Once Xiao Qingtang started speaking, Wu Geik's grim and heavy face turned brighter and he immediately smiled and said, No, Aunt is not in the wrong. As you've said, Uncle has only made a big mistake, though it's not a heinous matter. I'll explain the entire matter and coax my royal father for a few days. Once he gets over it, everything will be fine. I was heavy-handed in speaking just now, as I wanted to remind Uncle that everything in future must be done with absolute care and detail. Once I go back, I'll smooth everything out. Please rest easy, Aunt. The way Wu Geik treated Lei Qianfeng and Xiao Qingtang was worlds apart, and it had always been this way. Lei Qianfeng was already used to it, and after he heard Geik's words, his face was filled with joy. Xiao Qingtang lightly laughed. Geik is really such a good boy, I was right to dote on you. It's just a pity that both your cousins. As her voice grew softer, Xiao Qingtang started to weep again. Wu Geik immediate rushed to comfort her. Aunt, please stop grieving. You can rest at ease. With regards to my both cousins, I will get a reckoning for them. Just one puny little Ling Yun dares to break my beloved aunt's heart and make her weep. I will definitely bring him back and let you deal with him. After he finished, he glared harshly at Lei Qianfeng. That kid called Ling Yun, where is he now? Lei Qianfeng hurriedly replied. Although that kid's profound strength is low, it's as if he has a supernatural ability. He can appear and disappear at will. However, based on his constant movements and the direction he comes from, the place where he hides the most should be in the Black Soul Mountain Range. There are many profound beasts active in the day there, and therefore the auras there are extremely chaotic. Furthermore, there's the fog that descends at night. It's the place best suited for hiding. Add on the fact that then let's take a look at Black Soul Mountain. Wu Geik cut him off as he was speaking. Aunt said that he appears a few times every day, and he even appeared last night. That means that he should be hiding close by and shouldn't be far from here. Heh, Chengyan? Young master. The black-garbed, middle-aged man responded to the order. Although this might be an insult to your status, this place has nothing left but a bunch of useless trash with dirt smeared on their faces. We can only have you personally make a move to catch that little bug. Yes. Wu Chengyan accepted the order without any expression. While sweeping a glance at Lei Qianfeng, Wu Geik released the hands he held behind his back. Then let's go. Now, Lei Qianfeng was startled. If not now, then when? Shall we wait until he has run far away? Wu Geik responded coldly. If he's as scheming as you say, once he knows that people from the divine martial realm are here, he'll definitely escape far away from here. Not everyone is a real fool like you. Although he was berated by his nephew, Lei Qianfeng didn't dare to have an ounce of anger. He waved his hand. Tiangang, bring a few hall masters and follow this king to the Black Soul Mountain. Aunt, take a good rest. Don't let any harm come to your body. Geik will definitely bring Ling Yun back for you to deal with. Wu Geik reassured Xiao Qingtang with a bow before he left. Outside the Soul Sect, Wu Geik's face turned ugly. Without a care for any formalities, he said, Uncle, you should know what the consequences are when my royal father flies into a rage. If not for Aunt pleading so much, I wouldn't even bother about this matter. HMPH? Yes. Lei Qianfeng hurriedly answered with an apologetic smile. Geik, you've saved Uncle this time. I will definitely not forget this. No need. If you're really sincere, treat my aunt better. Wu Geik narrowed his eyes. Yesterday, we had Chengyan detoxify your poison for an entire night, and I also accompanied Aunt, consoling her the entire night. You're the realm king of a lower star realm, yet you got pushed around pathetically. You've really lost face for me and Mother. HMPH? Lei Qianfeng kept silent, not daring to speak a word. The reason why I came here so fast is to catch that Ling Yun. On one hand, it's to comfort Aunt on the other. It's because you lot didn't manage to catch Ling Yun, nor were you able to find that royal wood spirit. This probably means that it's most likely with Ling Yun. Even if it's not, Ling Yun should know where it is. Yes, you're right, Lei Qianfeng agreed. I've been trying to search for and catch Ling Yun at all costs just because of this reason. HMPH? Wu Geik scoffed once more, speeding up. Wu Geik was in front while Wu Chengyan was by his side. Lei Qianfeng and the rest were behind them. Wu Geik didn't speak another word, and everyone else didn't dare make a sound. These existences that could normally sweep the Darkia realm unchallenged were now like fearful turtles, not daring to even make a sound when they breathed. Wu Geik's identity was a given, while Wu Chengyan, a terrifying divine sovereign realm expert, was enough to look down on the entire lower star realm. In the divine martial realm, he held a very high position as well. He was accompanying Wu Geik currently to make sure that he was completely safe from harm. They soon arrived in front of the Black Soul Mountain Range. Lei Qianfeng said, Geik, this is the place. We have set up many ambushes here to catch Ling Yun several times. Once we nearly succeeded, yet it all came to naught. Chengyan. Wu Geik ignored Lei Qianfeng, raising an eyebrow. Wu Chengyan took the lead and flew upwards, using the spirit sense of a divine sovereign to scan the entire place before immediately landing back on the ground. Just at this moment, a sudden faint but weak aura pulsed. Everyone turned around as they sensed it, and then they saw some little girl wearing a 7-colored dress. The delicate-looking girl passed through a thicket that wasn't too tall, hopping and skipping towards them while singing a lively tune. "Hey, why would there be a little girl here?" Lei Qianfeng growled. "Who are you?" Lei Tiangang roared. As if she was frightened by the roar, the little girl stopped in her tracks. She used a very curious yet serious look to earnestly scan them and then revealed a slightly strange expression right after. "Ho, what a coincidence!" "She?" Behind Lei Tiangang, a hall master suddenly cried out. "Sect master, chief hall master, she was the girl who appeared together with Ling Yun half a month ago. She was the girl that Ling Yun saved. It's her, no doubt about it." That colorful dress, those beautiful and flawless features on her face. For anyone who had seen them before, they were an unforgettable sight. "What?" Lei Qianfeng's and Lei Tiangang's faces morphed into fury. Lei Qianfeng shouted, "Capture her immediately!" What they didn't notice was that when the little girl first appeared within their line of sight, Wu Geik was firmly rooted to the ground, as if his body had become stone. His jaw agape, not a sound coming from it. Both of his eyes were wide open, seemingly panicked. After confirming what he saw, the panic in them grew and his eyes grew even wider. He was the son of the divine martial realm's great realm king, a supreme existence that no one would dare offend in the upper star realms. At this moment, his eyes held so much shock, it seemed as if he had seen a ghost.